Chapter 446. In order to make a piece of equipment that could withstand a level 20 attack, the materials needed to make the equipment had to be top quality. If you used normal materials to make a piece of equipment with amazing defense, it was basically impossible. If you wanted to make a piece of equipment that could withstand a level 20 attack, just the materials alone would be a huge expense. Not only that, some materials couldn't be bought just because you had money. Otherwise, why would there be so many rich people in the South region but so few high-level equipment? The main reason was that the materials for making equipment were too hard to come by. In order to appease the Wu family, Shui Lingzi had no choice but to agree to their conditions. When she agreed, she also felt helpless. This was because the materials for making equipment were too hard to come by. Even for Tiangongmen, it would take a lot of effort to make 2 pieces of equipment that could withstand a level 20 attack. Seeing Shadowless mention this matter again, Shui Lingzi understood. Shadowless was envious. Seeing the Heaven's Craftsman Gate give the Wu clan 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, he also wanted 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. Seeing Shui Lingzi standing there with a pale face and not saying anything, Shadowless suddenly sneered. Shui Lingzi, could it be that the friends you speak of are divided into ranks? If you meet a capable friend, you pay a bit more. If you meet an incapable friend, you just fool them. Is this how Tiangongmen make friends? Hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi's face became even uglier. She forced a smile and said, "Brother Shadowless, don't misunderstand. We Tiangongmen make friends, so of course we treat everyone equally. How could there be ranks?" Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless seemed to be relieved. He let out a sigh of relief and a smile returned to his face. "So that's how it is. It seems that I misunderstood you." Shadowless paused for a bit before continuing. "So, Shui Lingzi, you also agreed to my 2 pieces of level 20 equipment." Hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi stared at him dumbfoundedly. She couldn't say anything for a while. After a while, she stuttered. Brother Shadowless, 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, it seems that I really can't." "What?" Before Shui Lingzi could finish, Shadowless interrupted her. "Shui Lingzi, what do you mean? Didn't you just say that Tiangongmen don't discriminate when it comes to making friends? How come you changed your mind in the blink of an eye?" Speaking up to here, Shadowless suddenly looked at Water Spirit and angrily said, "Water Spirit, could it be that you're looking down on me and think that I'm not strong enough to deserve your 2 level 20 equipment?" Seeing Shadowless suddenly become angry, Shui Lingzi hurriedly waved her hand and said, "No, Brother Shadowless, you misunderstood. I didn't mean that." Speaking up to here, Water Spirit paused for a moment to think about how to explain this matter. Then she continued, "Brother Shadowless, it's not that I'm looking down on you, but to make a piece of equipment that can withstand a level 20 attack really isn't an easy task. No matter how big the Heaven's Craftsman faction is, it's probably not an easy task to craft so many level 20 equipment." Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi hurriedly cupped her fists towards Shadowless and continued, "Brother Shadowless, the matter of equipment is really difficult. If Brother Shadowless is willing, I can make the decision on behalf of the Tiangongmen and give you 2 level 10 equipment. What do you think?" Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless suddenly took 2 steps forward and said coldly, "Shui Lingzi, do I look like a beggar to you?" Hearing this, Shui Lingzi hurriedly waved her hand and said with a smile, "Brother Shadowless, don't joke around. You're handsome and talented, no matter how you look at it, you don't look like a beggar." Hearing Shui Lingzi's reply, Shadowless let out another cold laugh. "Shui Lingzi, since you don't think I look like a beggar, why are you trying to dismiss me like a beggar?" Without waiting for Shui Lingzi to explain, Shadowless interrupted her and said coldly, "If they become friends with the Tiangongmen, they can get 2 level 20 equipment. But if I, Shadowless, become friends with the Tiangongmen, why can I only get 2 level 10 equipment? Tiangongmen do this, aren't they just trying to dismiss beggars?" Hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi sighed in her heart. Coming here today was truly careless. She thought that not many people would know about this, so only the two of them came. Against these Kikyaman people, Shui Lingzi was sure that she didn't need the two of them to act together. As long as she acted alone, she would be able to bring all of the Kikyaman people back. He thought that since he and Fire Spirit had come together, they had 100% confidence that they could deal with any changes and smoothly bring the Seven Skills sect back. However, he never expected that so many variables would appear out of thin air, and so many experts would appear all of a sudden. She didn't care about the people from the Godly Sword sect, and Shadowless could deal with them. But the people from the Wu family, the two of them had no way of dealing with them. In order to dispel the Wu family's thoughts, Shui Lingzi could only agree to Wu Kadi's request and give him 2 level 20 equipment in exchange for the Wu family not participating in this matter. But she never thought that once things started, it wouldn't end well. After giving the Wu family 2 level 20 equipment, Shadowless didn't like it and wanted 2 level 20 equipment as well. Shui Lingzi also wanted to give Shadowless 2 level 20 equipment. Level 20 equipment wasn't like cabbages, there were as many as he wanted. They were all made from precious materials. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the materials used to make level 20 equipment were a huge expense even for the Tiangongmen. If it was only 2 level 20 equipment, Shui Lingzi could grit her teeth and agree. But in the current situation, Shadowless also wanted 2 level 20 equipment, which put Shui Lingzi in a difficult position. This was because Shui Lingzi knew that once she agreed to Shadowless conditions, the people from the Godly Sword sect wouldn't let go of this opportunity and would definitely ask for 2 level 20 equipment from her. If each of the 3 guilds gave 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, that would be a total of 6 pieces of level 20 equipment. Thinking of this number, Shui Lingzi felt a bit dizzy. Tiangongmen didn't have many precious materials. If she used all of these materials to make equipment and gave it to these 3 people for free, then she wouldn't be able to stay in the Tiangongmen anymore. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi looked at Shadowless and sighed, "Brother Shadowless, if you want to make a level 20 equipment, the materials needed, whether it's the main material or the padding material, are all very precious. I'm afraid that they are very rare even in the South region." Chapter 447. Water Spirit continued. If you want to make a level 20 equipment, you need enough materials, and these materials can only be obtained with a certain amount of luck. It's not something that can be bought with money. Speaking up to this point, Water Spirit paused for a moment before continuing. The 2 pieces of level 20 equipment that we promised the Wu family have almost exhausted all of our resources. Now, Brother Shadowless still wants 2 more pieces of level 20 equipment. My Heaven's Craftsman Gate truly has the heart but is powerless. Brother Shadowless, please forgive us and understand our difficulties. Hearing Water Spirit's explanation, Shadowless sneered. Water Spirit, I know the value of level 20 equipment, but if someone else gets level 20 equipment and I only get level 10 equipment, the difference is like heaven and earth. If it was you, would you agree? Hearing Shadowless's question, Shui Lingzi was dazed for a moment and then sighed. Even if it were him, he would never agree to such a thing. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi sighed. Brother Shadowless, I won't say anything else. If Brother Shadowless can agree to my condition, I will express my gratitude to you on behalf of the Heaven's Craftsman faction. Shadowless shook his head. Water Spirit, you're too insincere. You should know the difference between level 20 equipment and level 10 equipment better than me. But you want to use an apology to solve this problem? Don't you think it's funny? Water Spirit was about to explain, but Fire Spirit suddenly said, Shadowless, this is already the best we Tiangongmen can do. If you're still not satisfied, then we'll have to fight it out with our fists. Shadowless sneered. Fire Spirit, you think I'm afraid of you? Fire Spirit said coldly, You're not afraid of me, But do you think I'm afraid of you? Shadowless sighed. Since you Tiangongmen look down on people so much, then I'll have to be the bad guy. Shadowless paused. He turned around and looked at the night sky. Fire Spirit, do you think you can defeat us because we don't have enough people? Shadowless said in a deep voice. Fire Spirit, do you think you can defeat us because we don't have enough people? Hearing Shadowless's words, Fire Spirit's heart skipped a beat. He subconsciously looked around and thought, could it be that Shadowless didn't come alone? Water Spirit quickly said, Brother Shadowless, no matter how many people you have, I think we're friends. It doesn't matter how many people you have. Speaking to this point, Water Spirit laughed. There's wine and food here. Since so many friends have come, then I'll take care of them. Shadowless shook his head. No need. My friends don't like to drink, they only like equipment. Do you understand? Hearing Shadowless's words, Water Spirit's face changed, but it quickly returned to normal. Brother Shadowless, no need to be so polite. As long as your friends need equipment, then the Tiangongmen will definitely welcome them. You'll do your best to satisfy your friends' needs. Shadowless sneered. Water Spirit, don't make it sound so nice. Do you think my friends only need your 2 level 10 equipment? Hearing Shadowless's words, Water Spirit was stunned again. She thought Shadowless came alone, so she didn't put him in her eyes. If Shadowless was alone, Water Spirit believed that she and Fire Spirit could deal with him. However, if Shadowless came with too many people, then the 2 of them wouldn't be able to deal with him. Thinking to this point, Water Spirit complained in her heart. She thought she could deal with the Wu family with 2 level 20 equipment, but she didn't expect Shadowless to appear. What should she do? Was she going to lose another 2 level 20 equipment? It wasn't that Water Spirit didn't want to give Shadowless 2 level 20 equipment, but she really couldn't afford it. Level 20 equipment wasn't cabbage, so she could take it out whenever she wanted. How long did it take to make a piece of equipment? If it was a simple piece of equipment, then it would take about a day. But if it was a high-level equipment, then a day definitely wasn't enough. Shadowless saw that Water Spirit didn't answer, so he sighed. Water Spirit, you don't need to be troubled. Even if you don't give us the equipment, I won't purposely cause trouble for you. Hearing Shadowless's words, Water Spirit was surprised and happy. Really? Brother Shadowless, you really won't interfere in this matter? Hearing Shui Lingzi's question, Shadowless shook his head. I don't like to meddle in other people's business, but there are some things I can't stand and want to meddle in. As long as what you do is acceptable to me, you can rest assured that I won't meddle in your business. Water Spirit hurriedly asked, If I want to take Kikiaman's people back, will Brother Shadowless agree? Shadowless shook his head. This matter has nothing to do with me. As long as Kikiaman's people are willing to go back with you, then I won't say anything. Shadowless paused for a bit before continuing, but if Kikiaman's people don't want to go back with you and you want to use force, then I'll have to interfere in this matter. Hearing Shadowless's answer, Fire Spirit angrily said, Aren't you talking nonsense? Of course Kikiaman won't go back with us, then you'll have to interfere in this matter? Shadowless smiled and waved his hand. You can't say that. As long as you Tiangongmen do things in the right way, then I don't think Kikiaman is the same. As long as you think of a way to make them go back with you, then wouldn't this matter be resolved? After hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi suddenly turned to Sun Qiao and asked loudly, Sect Master Sun, you heard what I said just now. I don't have any ill intentions. I just want to ask Sect Master Sun to come back with us to investigate Sect Master Han's matter. Once this matter is over, I will definitely let Sect Master Sun come back. Sect Leader Sun, please agree to come back with us to investigate. Hearing Shui Lingzi's greeting, Sun Qiao hurriedly shook her head and flatly refused. No, we really have something we need to do. It's impossible for us to go back and investigate with you. If you have something urgent, you can ask me here or go find Gu Yunfei. Sun Xiao's answer was within her expectations, but Water Spirit was still a bit disappointed. Shadowless already said that as long as Sun Xiao went back with them, he wouldn't interfere in this matter. But from the looks of it, it was almost impossible to get Sun Xiao to go back with them. As long as Sun Xiao didn't go back with them, Shadowless wouldn't just stand by. Chapter 448. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi looked at Sun Xiao and sighed. Sect leader Sun, our Tiangongmen have suffered a great loss this time. If we don't investigate this matter clearly, I'm afraid we won't be able to explain this to sect leader and will be punished. I hope sect leader Sun can take into account that we're all from the South region and come back with us to investigate this matter. Speaking of this, Shui Lingzi suddenly cupped her fists towards Sun Xiao. I hope sect leader Sun can agree. This old man thanks you. When Sun Xiao saw Shui Lingzi salute her, she quickly jumped to the side and avoided Shui Lingzi's salute. Then she waved her hand and said, Shui Lingzi, it's not that I don't want to agree, but this matter really has nothing to do with us. Besides, we really do have important matters to attend to, so I ask Senior Shui Lingzi for forgiveness. Shui Lingzi saw that Sun Xiao still didn't agree despite her humble words. She couldn't help but feel a surge of anger in her heart. She fiercely shouted, Sect leader Sun, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Do you want this old man to make you obediently come back with us? Seeing Shui Lingzi suddenly turn hostile, Sun Xiao was startled. She quickly shook her head and said, This matter has nothing to do with us. Why should I go back with you? Speaking of this, Sun Xiao looked around and continued, There are so many people here today. Even if you want to use force, they won't agree. Hearing Sun Xiao's words, Shui Lingzi woke up from her rage and subconsciously turned to look at Shadowless, only to see Shadowless looking at her with a cold smile. Shui Lingzi, as I said before, as long as sect leader Sun agrees to go back with you, I, Shadowless, won't stop you. However, if you want to force sect leader Sun to go back with you, I'll have to ask. Shui Lingzi turned to look at Shadowless and sighed. Brother Shadowless, if you agree to not interfere in this matter, I can give you a piece of level 20 equipment. What do you think? Shadowless shook his head and turned to look at Wu Kudi. He then faintly said, Shui Lingzi, if it was you, would you agree? Shadowless didn't say anything after hearing that. Knowing that others had obtained 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, while he had only obtained 1 piece of level 20 equipment, no matter how good the equipment was, he was afraid that others would see through it. Seeing that Shui Lingzi didn't answer, Shadowless sneered and said, How about it, even you wouldn't agree, so why do you think I would? After hearing Shadowless's words, Water Spirit suddenly sighed, Brother Shadowless, this isn't a matter of whether I agree or not. It's just that we really can't afford 2 level 20 equipment. Shadowless sneered and said, Water Spirit, it's not that I don't like you, but you Tiangongmen gave others 2 pieces of level 20 equipment and only gave me 1. If this matter were to be known by others, wouldn't I, Shadowless, lose face? How would I be able to walk in Jianghu in the future? If you give each of us a piece of level 20 equipment, I, Shadowless, won't say anything. But you Tiangongmen are so unfair, I can't do anything about it. Hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi's heart suddenly moved. If each of them was only given 1 piece of level 20 equipment, then wouldn't it be the best of both worlds? Although she knew that this matter wasn't very likely, but no matter what, she still had to try. If the Wu family agreed, then wouldn't it mean that the Tiangongmen only needed to give 2 pieces of level 20 equipment to solve the problem between the 2 families? Thinking up to here, Shui Lingzi felt her face turn red. It was indeed a little inappropriate to take back something that he had given to someone else. Thinking up to here, Shui Lingzi quickly walked in front of Wu Kudi and said in a low voice, Brother Wu Kudi, you heard what happened just now. Look, can we just give you 1 piece of equipment? This way, Shadowless won't have anything to say. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kudi turned his head and looked at Shui Lingzi. After a while, he sneered and said, Shui Lingzi, have you ever heard of someone asking for something back after giving it away? Hearing Wu Kudi's words, Shui Lingzi's face suddenly turned red. She quickly waved her hand and said, Brother Wu Kudi, although the Tiangongmen have a lot of businesses, it's very difficult for them to take out 4 pieces of level 20 equipment at once. I hope that Brother Wu Kudi can save the Tiangongmen once, because we're all from the South County. In the future we can still be good friends. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kudi's heart moved. He also admitted that Shui Lingzi's words made sense. If it was before, in order to not offend the Tiangongmen, he would definitely agree to Shui Lingzi's words and reduce his equipment from 2 to 1. The Tiangongmen were the biggest equipment-making sect in the South County. No one wanted to offend the Tiangongmen. It could be said that most of the good equipment in the South County came from the Tiangongmen. For the safety of their disciples, the sects would spend a lot of money to buy equipment from the Tiangongmen every year. Good equipment wasn't available every year, nor could it be bought with a lot of money. When a piece of good equipment came out, there would always be a lot of sects coming to buy it. As for who would be able to buy it, there were 2 ways. The first way was that the Tiangongmen would put the equipment in an auction house, and then everyone would bid fairly. Whoever paid the highest price would get the equipment. Although everyone knew that this was actually the fairest way of doing things, everyone knew that the price of things in the auction house would directly increase by many times due to the competition from many people. But if one had a good relationship with the Tiangongmen, this wouldn't be a problem. As long as the equipment was made, the sects that had a good relationship with the Tiangongmen would immediately know and buy it at a low price. As for who could buy it, it would depend on who had the best relationship with the Tiangongmen. Therefore, no one was willing to offend the Tiangongmen. The Wu family was no exception. They didn't want to offend the Tiangongmen either. The main reason why they came here this time was because they heard about the competition between Kikyamen and the Tiangongmen. Leather armor that could withstand a level 24 attack. And the material of this leather armor was only the skin of an ordinary wild bear. The miracle of Kikyamen. If they could obtain Kikyamen's manufacturing technology, wouldn't they be able to get as many good equipment as they wanted? A leather armor made from the skin of a wild bear could withstand a level 24 attack. If they used better materials, wouldn't that mean that the defense of this leather armor would be even more heaven-defying? With such good equipment, who would still think about the equipment of the Tiangongmen? The Wu family had already investigated in detail. There weren't many people in Kikyamen, only less than 20 people. Moreover, the people of Kikyamen were about to leave the South County. They were quite clear about this point. After the Wu family discussed, they finally came to a conclusion, which was to leave Kikyamen behind. Chapter 449. After some discussion, the Wu family decided to bring back Kikyamen's people. As long as Kikyamen's people stayed, with Kikyamen's crafting skills, they would be able to get any equipment they wanted. Even if level 24 was the peak of their crafting skills, the Wu family would still be very satisfied. In order to obtain Kikyamen's crafting skills, the Wu family sent 3 experts to bring back Kikyamen. It was also because of this that Wu Kadi wasn't very tempted by the 2 pieces of level 20 equipment from the Tiangongmen. It could even be said that it wasn't a big deal. However, when he saw that Shui Lingzi wanted to reduce the 2 pieces of equipment to 1, he was a bit angry. This was simply toying with them. Thinking of this, Wu Kadi sneered. Is this how the Tiangongmen do things? They clearly promised to give us 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, but now they're going back on their word. How long has it been, and now they want to reduce it to 1 piece? Isn't this a bit too disappointing? Speaking of this, Wu Kadi paused for a bit before continuing. Can I assume that after this matter is over, the Tiangongmen won't even give us a piece of equipment? After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi quickly waved her hand and said, "No, we Tiangongmen won't do such a thing. As long as Brother Wu Kedi agrees to my request, after this matter is over, we'll definitely hand over the equipment." Wu Kedi shook his head. "I suddenly don't trust you guys anymore." Speaking of this, Wu Kedi turned his head to look at Sun Xiaoer and said with a smile, "Sect Master Sun, I think you should have brought a pen and paper. I want to make a written agreement with Shui Lingzi in case the Heaven's Craftsman faction tries to act shamelessly." After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi secretly complained in her heart. If she wrote a contract, then she would really owe the Wu family 2 pieces of equipment. Most importantly, even if Wu clan had done something, the Heaven's Craftsman faction would definitely present the 2 pieces of equipment to them with both hands since they had the written agreement. Otherwise, wouldn't it be the Heaven's Craftsman faction breaking their promise? Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi hurriedly waved her hand and said with a smile, "Brother Wu Kedi, don't worry about the written agreement. After we solve this matter, our Heaven's Craftsman faction will definitely send you the equipment." Hearing Shui Lingzi's reply, Wu Kedi waved his hand. "No, I'm becoming less and less trusting of you. If you go back on your word, then the ones who will suffer losses would be us. It's better to write a contract as soon as possible. That way, everyone will know what to do and not to go back on their word." Seeing that Shui Lingzi's anxious, and Wu's to go back to the Tiangongmen. If he really did, even if the Wu family made a move against him and stopped him from taking away the 7 skills sex members, there was nothing he could do. Once this matter was over, he could only obediently hand over the equipment. Shui Lingzi didn't think that things would turn out like this. Originally, she just wanted the Wu family to reduce 1 piece of equipment, but she didn't think that there would be so many changes. While the two were talking, Sun Xiaoer had already brought a pen and paper and handed it to Wu Kedi. Wu Kedi took the pen and paper from Sun Xiaoer and turned to Shui Lingzi with a smile. "Shui Lingzi, if you want me to rest assured, then hurry up and write a contract." After saying this, Wu Kedi paused for a moment before continuing. "Shui Lingzi, rest assured, as long as you write a contract, I will definitely do as we agreed. I won't go back on my word." Taking the pen and paper from Wu Kedi, Shui Lingzi hesitated for a moment. She definitely wouldn't write a contract, but the key was how to say it. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi looked up at Wu Kedi and said with a smile, "Brother Wu Kedi, with our relationship, I don't think we need a contract. As long as I promise you, I won't go back on my word. Please rest assured, I will definitely do as I say." After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kedi shook his head. "After what you just did, I don't trust you anymore. If you don't write a contract, then the conditions we just agreed on will be invalid." After saying this, Wu Kedi suddenly laughed. "Actually, it's better if you don't write a contract. This will also be very beneficial for you. At least you won't have to pay 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, and you will also have something to say to the Tiangongmen." After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi quickly waved her hand and said, "No, Brother Wu Kedi, rest assured, I will definitely give you the equipment I promised. Please rest assured." After hearing this, Wu Kedi pointed at the pen and paper in Shui Lingzi's hand and said with a sneer, "Shui Lingzi, since you want me to rest assured, then hurry up and write a contract. As long as you write a contract, then I will truly be relieved." Shui Lingzi hesitated for a moment before saying, "Brother Wu Kedi, about the contract, can you wait until this matter is over before I write one?" Wu Kedi shook his head. "Is there something different about this? What if after this matter is over, you suddenly forget about this matter and I also forget about this matter? What should we do then? At that time, if you don't admit it, then who can prove it? So, to be safe, you should hurry up and write this contract. Since you have to write it sooner or later, why not write it earlier?" After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi wiped the cold sweat from her forehead before shaking her head and saying, "Brother Wu Kedi, rest assured, after this matter is over, I definitely won't forget about the contract. When the time comes, I will definitely write it to you." Wu Kedi shook his head. "If you don't write a contract now, then I will be even more worried. 2 level 20 equipment might not be much to you Tiangongmen, but in our Wu family's eyes, it is a rare treasure. If we lose these 2 treasures because of your carelessness, then wouldn't that be too bad?" Shui Lingzi quickly shook her head. "Impossible, even if I forget, others won't forget. They will definitely remind us." Hearing Shui Lingzi's answer, Wu Kedi sneered and looked around. Finally, his eyes stopped on Shadowless and asked with a smile, "Shadowless, after this matter is over, will you remind Shui Lingzi to write a contract with me?" Hearing Wu Kedi's question, Shadowless didn't even hesitate and immediately shook his head. "No." After hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi's face suddenly became a bit ugly. She was about to speak when Wu Kedi suddenly asked with a cold smile, "Shadowless, why won't you remind Shui Lingzi?" Shadowless heard this and expressionlessly replied, "If the Tiangongmen want to act shamelessly and I kindly remind them, then when the time comes, wouldn't the Tiangongmen hate me? I would be doing bad things with good intentions. So, even if the Tiangongmen forget about the contract, I definitely won't remind them to prevent them from hating me." After hearing Shadowless's answer, Wu Kedi turned to look at Shui Lingzi and said with a cold smile, Chapter 450. Wu Kedi turned to look at Shui Lingzi and sneered, "Shui Lingzi, you heard it. If you really want to forget, then no one will remind you. It doesn't matter if you forget, but wouldn't I have lost my 2 pieces of equipment for nothing?" Wu Kedi paused for a moment before continuing, "Shui Lingzi, I think it's better if you write down the agreement so that you won't go back on your words." Looking at the pen and paper in her hand and hearing Wu Kedi's cold words, Shui Lingzi suddenly became annoyed and said, "Wu Kedi, what if I don't write it down?" Wu Kedi shook his head, "Shui Lingzi, you're thinking too much. Even if you don't write it down, the Tiangongmen and Wu family are still good friends." Hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi was overjoyed. "Really?" Wu Kedi sneered, "Of course it's true. However, we are also good friends with Kikiaman. I don't care about the grudges between you and Kikiaman, but if you bully Kikiaman, then I'll take care of it. Who told us to be good friends?" "You." Hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi flew into a rage. If what Wu Kedi said was true, then wouldn't he have to take care of this matter? Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi suddenly shouted, "Wu Kedi, don't push your luck. Although your Wu family is powerful, our supervisors aren't to be trifled with. If you don't meddle in this matter, then when we have good equipment, we'll definitely sell it to Wu family first." Saying this, Shui Lingzi suddenly sneered, "Wu Kedi, if you insist on meddling in this matter, then I'll represent the Tiangongmen and announce that we won't sell any equipment to your Wu family in the future." Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kedi was shocked. But when he turned to look at Sun Qiaoer, his heart suddenly calmed down. With Kikiaman, Tiangongmen were nothing. If Tiangongmen wanted to take out a piece of level 20 equipment, they would be crying for their parents. However, 7 Possibilities sect was different. A normal wild bear's hide could be used to create a piece of equipment that could resist level 24 attack. Most importantly, Kikiaman only made leather armor. If a piece of leather armor's defense was really that high, then it would be too convenient. Although the defense of the metal armor was very strong, everyone knew very well that no matter how well it was made or how high the grade of the materials used, as long as one wore it, they would still feel uncomfortable. It was as if they had been fixed in place by plaster. Most importantly, an expert was particular about speed and agility. If you wore that kind of metal armor, it would more or less weaken your speed and agility. But if you wear it, then you would to wear it, it would feel like ordinary wearers wear. In the past, most people did not choose leather armor because its defense was too low. Therefore, no one chose leather armor as their main defensive equipment. But now it was different. Kikyaman could make a piece of level 24 equipment with just bare skin. If you lose that kind of defense, why would you still need metal armor? Thinking of this, Wu Kedi faintly smiled at Sun Qiaoer before turning to Shui Lingzi and saying with a sneer, "Shui Lingzi, don't try to scare me. Do you think your Heaven's Craftsman faction can be lawless just because you can forge equipment?" Speaking up to here, Wu Kedi turned to Sun Qiaoer and nodded slightly, indicating for her to rest assured. Then he turned to Shui Lingzi and said in a loud voice, "We are all people of the South County. If you have something to say, then say it nicely. Why do you have to use force? This old man can't stand it today, so I want to intervene." Hearing Wu Kedi's tough words, Shui Lingzi was stunned. She thought that even if Wu Kedi didn't compromise, he would at least give her some face by bringing up the Heaven's Craftsman Gate's equipment. But he never thought that not only would Wu Kedi not give him face, he would even scold him to his face. At this moment, no matter how good Shui Lingzi's self-control was, he couldn't hold it in anymore. He pointed at Wu Kedi and shouted, "Wu Kedi, you ungrateful scoundrel! Pat your conscience and tell me how many pieces of high-quality equipment the Heaven's Craftsman faction has provided you. Why is it that at this moment, not only do you not remember the benefits of the Heaven's Craftsman faction, but you also want to add insult to injury?" Wu Kedi sneered, "Water Spirit, don't make yourself sound so noble. I admit that our Wu clan did get a lot of good equipment from the Heaven's Craftsman faction, but so what? Didn't our Wu clan give you money? Or is it that you Tiangongmen gave us equipment for free?" When Wu Kedi got angry, he took a step forward and said furiously, "Shui Lingzi, our Wu clan and the Heaven's Craftsman faction have been in contact with each other for over 100 years. Tell me, has our Wu clan not paid for any of the equipment we received from your faction?" After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi was stunned for a moment before saying loudly, "Wu Kedi, don't talk nonsense. Why should our Heaven's Craftsman Gate give your Wu clan equipment for free? Your Wu clan did pay a certain price to obtain the equipment, but don't forget that the equipment made by our Heaven's Craftsman faction also requires a huge amount of capital. The equipment didn't grow on trees. If we didn't sell it for some money, could it be that our Heaven's Craftsman faction, with so many people, would go out to eat every day?" Wu Kedi shook his head, "Shui Lingzi, you don't need to quibble. Although it costs money to make equipment, compared to the price you sell it for, the difference is like heaven and earth. Do you think I don't know that?" Seeing Wu Kedi being so unreasonable, Shui Lingzi angrily said, "No one forced you to buy Tiangongmen equipment. It seems that it was your Wu family who bought it with a thick face. If it wasn't for the friendship between the Wu family and the Tiangongmen, with the money you spent, I'm afraid we wouldn't sell it to you. I didn't think that we would lower the price so low, but you still don't know how to be satisfied. What a greedy guy." Hearing this, Wu Kedi sneered, "Shui Lingzi, don't speak so highly of your Heaven's Craftsman faction. You keep saying that you sold your equipment to our Wu clan at a low price. Pat your conscience and think about it. Is the price you sold to us really low?" Shui Lingzi angrily said, "The price we sold to you is far lower than what we sold at the auction house. Are you still not satisfied? If we sent this equipment to the auction house, I'm afraid we would sell it for a much higher price." After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kedi nodded, "Shui Lingzi, you're right. The price you sold to us is indeed lower than the highest price you could sell it at the auction house. But think about it, with such a high price, how many people would buy it? Do you really think they would sell it for such a high price?" Speaking up to here, Wu Kedi paused for a moment before continuing, "If it wasn't for our Wu family, I'm afraid that the equipment you Tiangongmen made would be rotten to the core." Chapter 451. Hearing Wu Kedi say that the equipment made by the Heaven's Craftsman faction was rotten to the core, Shui Lingzi's heart was suddenly filled with anger. He pointed at Wu Kedi and said loudly, "All right, so to speak, your Wu family doesn't want our Heaven's Craftsman faction's equipment anymore. Let's just go our separate ways and stop buying and selling equipment. Your Wu clan can forget about buying another piece of equipment from us. Our Heaven's Craftsman faction will never sell another piece of equipment to your Wu clan." Seeing Shui Lingzi being so ruthless, Wu Kedi was furious. He took a step forward and shouted, "If you don't want to buy, then don't buy. Who cares about your Tiangongmen's equipment? It's heavy and has no defense. It's better for you to keep it for yourselves." Although the metal equipment's defense was amazing, it was indeed as Wu Kedi said. It was heavy and heavy. However, it wasn't as weak as Wu Kedi said. Hearing this, Shui Lingzi couldn't take it anymore. She suddenly sent a palm towards Wu Kedi. Wu Kedi wasn't a fool. Seeing that Shui Lingzi's words had reached a stalemate, he was already on guard. Seeing Shui Lingzi's palm coming, he immediately sneered and sent out a palm towards Shui Lingzi. But the palms of the two men collided. Countless amounts of true qi surged out when the two palms collided, flying in all directions. Wu Kedi and Shui Lingzi's martial arts were similar. After the two palms collided, they couldn't take the backlash and were both forced back 3 or 4 steps before stabilizing themselves. As soon as the two stabilized themselves, they waved their palms and were about to rush forward again. However, they were pulled back by Wu Ketian and Fire Spirit. Fire Spirit said in a low voice, "Don't be reckless. The Wu clan still has Wu Lai. We're not their match." Hearing this, Shui Lingzi's furious mood calmed down a little. No matter what the result of the battle between him and Wu Kedi was, he and Fire Spirit would be at a disadvantage, because the Wu clan had sent Wu Lai. Even if Shui Lingzi and Fire Spirit worked together, they wouldn't be his match. On the other side, Wu Ketian also pulled back Wu Kedi. "Don't fight. We didn't come here to fight." Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian felt a dull pain in his shoulder. His heart was filled with anger again. He lowered his voice and said, "After this matter is over, we'll think of a way to get revenge." After listening to Wu Ketian's words, Wu Kedi nodded, then turned to Shui Lingzi and said with a sneer, "Shui Lingzi, today's matter isn't over, I'll ask for your advice later." After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi was secretly regretting her decision. She had already made the Wu family promise not to participate in this matter, but she didn't expect that she would pull the Wu family back. The reason he and Fire Spirit came here today was to bring the 7 skills sex people back. Aside from this, nothing else was important. Thinking up to here, Shui Lingzi took a deep breath and calmed the anger in her heart. She cupped her fists towards Wu Kedi and said, "Brother Wu Kedi, there's no hatred between us. Why did we have to fight? I was just being impulsive." Now, speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused. She clenched her teeth and said, "Now I apologize to Brother Wu Kedi. I've offended you before. I hope Brother Wu Kedi doesn't take offense." Seeing Shui Lingzi apologize to him, Wu Kedi was stunned. But after thinking about it, he immediately understood what Shui Lingzi meant. Since he understood Shui Lingzi's meaning, Wu Kedi didn't stand on ceremony and said faintly, "Shui Lingzi, no matter what, you've just said that the Heaven's Craftsman faction will no longer sell any equipment to the Wu clan. I will remember this." After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi's face suddenly changed. She quickly cupped her fists and said, "Brother Wu Kedi, everyone was just being emotional just now. It was just a quarrel, how could you take it seriously? What's more, the Tiangongmen and the Wu clan have been friends for hundreds of years. How could they cut off their ties because of a disagreement? If that's the case, then wouldn't the two of us become the sinners of the Tiangongmen and the Wu clan? Future generations will forever remember that the two of us destroyed the relationship between the Tiangongmen and the Wu clan." Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kedi nodded in his heart. If it was any other time, he would have used this opportunity to repair the relationship between the two sides. But now it was different. Because of the Kikyaman matter, everyone had to fight for it. Kikyaman could make powerful leather armor. If he could get Kikyaman to join the Wu clan, then he wouldn't need to contact the Tiangongmen in the future. If it wasn't for the Kikyaman, Wu Kedi wouldn't want to fight with Shui Lingzi. As the saying goes, one more friend means one more path. If he didn't offend the Tiangongmen, then it wasn't a bad thing. But no matter what, Wu Kedi wouldn't allow the Tiangongmen to take away the Kikyaman people. Because if the Tiangongmen took away the Kikyaman people, then everything would go back to normal. The Tiangongmen would get Kikyaman's technology and could use it in the south region. The Wu clan would have to spend more money to buy equipment. Thinking of this, Wu Kedi made a decision. He couldn't let the Tiangongmen take away the Kikyaman people. If the Kikyaman wanted to leave today, then it would be with the Wu clan. Shui Lingzi, you're too polite. I was also in the wrong just now. I think we should just let this matter go. Let's not talk about it anymore. Hearing Wu Kedi's suggestion, Shui Lingzi was overjoyed. She quickly said, Brother Wu Kedi, what do you think about the matter we talked about just now? Wu Kedi heard this and shook his head. Shui Lingzi, I forgot what we talked about just now. Can you please remind me? Hearing Wu Kedi say this, Shui Lingzi was angry. But in this situation, she could only swallow her anger. Brother Wu Kedi, as long as you don't interfere with this matter, then everything can be discussed. Wu Kedi rolled his eyes. That's not right. I remember you promised to give us 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. Why aren't you talking about it now? Shui Lingzi heard this and turned to look at Shadowless. Then she looked back at Wu Kedi and said apologetically, Brother Wu Kedi, 2 pieces of level 20 equipment is a bit too much. If Brother Wu Kedi doesn't mind, then 1 piece of level 20 equipment. Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before continuing. If Brother Wu Kedi agrees, then after this matter is over, I will definitely give you the equipment with both hands. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kedi shook his head and sighed. Shui Lingzi, I don't agree to this matter. You promised to give us 2 pieces of equipment, but you only gave us 1. Chapter 452. Wu Kedi sneered, Shui Lingzi, you're looking down on our Wu clan too much. At this point, Wu Kedi turned to Wu Lai and cupped his fists before turning back to Shui Lingzi and saying coldly, Shui Lingzi, I remember that at the beginning, our condition was for the Tiangongmen to give us a piece of level 24 equipment, but you said you didn't have it. Then you said you'd give us 2 pieces of level 20 equipment as compensation. We reluctantly agreed because of the friendship between the Tiangongmen and the Wu clan. However, you went back on your word. You clearly agreed to do something, yet you still want to return. Speaking up to here, Wu Kedi suddenly snapped, Water Spirit, tell me, are you the one who promised us those 2 pieces of level 20 equipment? Hearing Wu Kedi's accusation, Shui Lingzi's face changed. Wu Kedi was right. What happened was exactly as Wu Kedi said. At the beginning, the Wu clan asked for a piece of level 24 equipment, but Shui Lingzi felt that level 24 equipment was too much, so she used 2 pieces of level 20 equipment to exchange for the level 24 equipment. If it wasn't for the fact that Shadowless also asked for 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, Shui Lingzi wouldn't have gone back on her words. If she also agreed to Shadowless 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, then it wouldn't be a small number. Adding on the Wu clan's 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, that would be 4 whole batches of level 20 equipment. Most importantly, there was the Godly Sword sect on the side. The Godly Sword sect was very strong. In the entire South region, other than the Sky Sword sect, there really wasn't anyone who could contend with them. Since the Wu clan and Shadowless both gave 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, then the Godly Sword sect wouldn't be lacking either. 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, this was definitely not a novel. Shui Lingzi's heart couldn't help but tremble just thinking about it. If she changed the Wu clan's 2 pieces of equipment into one, then the Tiangongmen only needed to give 3 pieces of level 20 equipment to get rid of the 3 clans. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi looked up at Wu Kedi and sincerely said, "Brother Wu Kedi, on account of the 100 years of friendship between the Tiangongmen and the Wu family, please agree to this old man's request." Wu Kedi shook his head. "It's not that I don't want to agree, but this matter is the fault of the Tiangongmen. If you hadn't agreed to give us 2 pieces of level 20 equipment in the beginning, I wouldn't have anything to say. However, you Tiangongmen have already agreed to give us 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, so you must fulfill your promise." At this point, Wu Kedi paused for a moment before continuing, "Unless you Tiangongmen look down on us generals, that's why you reduced the things you promised us and didn't care about keeping your promise. Otherwise, with the wealth and resources of the Tiangongmen, it shouldn't be that difficult for me to craft a few pieces of level 20 equipment. Moreover, I believe that unless you Tiangongmen don't want to keep your promise, you'll definitely be able to fulfill your promise." Hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi sighed. "Brother Wu Kedi, crafting a piece of level 20 equipment is definitely not an easy task. It's not like what you said where you can craft it just because you want to. Let's not talk about anything else, just the materials required will require a lot of special materials, and some of these special materials can't be bought with money, but with luck and opportunity. Crafting a piece of level 20 equipment is already very difficult, let alone crafting so many pieces of level 20 equipment. This is even more impossible. Brother Wu Kedi, please understand our Heaven's Craftsman faction's difficulties. It's not that we don't want to fulfill our promise, but it's indeed very difficult." As soon as Shui Lingzi finished speaking, Shadowless, who had been silent all this time, suddenly opened his mouth. "Shui Lingzi, I remember you saying that the Tiangongmen have a lot of resources and don't lack these things. Why are you crying about being poor now?" Shadowless turned his head to look at Wu Kedi and sneered. "Why do I feel like I've been cheated?" Hearing Shadowless' words, Wu Kedi's heart shook. He turned his head to look at Shui Lingzi and sneered. "Shui Lingzi, when you said that, I seem to have heard it as well." After hearing the two's words, Shui Lingzi was secretly regretting her words. When she said those words, she wanted to intimidate everyone. She didn't think that in the blink of an eye, she would taste the consequences of her words. Shui Lingzi wiped the cold sweat from her forehead and said softly, "That was a slip of the tongue, it wasn't the truth. I hope you two don't take offense." Hearing Shui Lingzi's answer, Wu Kedi sneered. "Shui Lingzi, whether or not you made a slip of the tongue has nothing to do with me. I just want to know, what do you want from me for the 2 level 20 equipment you promised me?" Hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi couldn't help but frown. The 2 people in front of her weren't easy to deal with. If she didn't deal with them properly, there was no need to talk about bringing the Kikyaman people back. It would already be a good thing if the 2 of them could escape unscathed. If the forces in front of them attacked the 2 brothers together, Shui's spirit was sure that the 2 brothers would be beaten up miserably. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi secretly regretted her decision. If she wasn't so arrogant and brought more people with her, this problem wouldn't have occurred. However, since the problem had already occurred, she had to find a way to solve it. Otherwise, if they didn't bring the Kikyaman people back, and were beaten back by these people, then the 2 of them would lose a lot of face. Thinking up to here, Shui Lingzi once again cupped her fists towards Wu Kedi and sincerely said, "Brother Wu Kedi, as you can see, if I give the Wu clan 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, then Shadowless will also ask for 2 pieces of level 20 equipment from me. Not only that, even the Godly Sword sect won't let us off and will definitely ask for 2 pieces of level 20 equipment from us. If we calculate it this way, then the Tiangongmen would have to pay 6 level 20 equipment." Speaking up to here, Water Spirit suddenly sighed and said somewhat sadly, "Although the Heaven's Craftsman Gate is rich and powerful, it's impossible for them to take out 6 pieces of level 20 equipment at once. If we take out 3 level 20 equipment, then the Tiangongmen might be able to forge it with all their strength, but if it's 6 level 20 equipment, then it's really impossible. Brother Wu Kadi, I hope that you can understand the difficulties of the Tiangongmen and forgive them whenever possible. Us Tiangongmen and the Wu clan will still be good friends in the future, so please don't hurt our friendship. After hearing Shui Spirit's words, Wu Kudi sneered. Shui Spirit, your purpose in making such a big speech is nothing more than to reduce the amount of equipment you're giving us. However, you keep thinking about the Tiangongmen and forget about our Wu clan's phase. Chapter 453. Wu Kadi sneered. The Tiangongmen want face, but do you think our Wu clan doesn't want face? You, Water Spirit, can be considered a consecrator of the Tiangongmen. You promised us 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, but you went back on your word and wanted to use one to get rid of us. Speaking up to here, Wu Kudi paused for a moment before turning to Shui Lingzi and angrily saying, Shui Lingzi, what kind of people do you think our Wu family is? Beggars? Do you think we should greet you with a smile no matter how much you give out? Water Spirit wiped the cold sweat off her forehead and said apologetically, Brother Wu Kadi, I really have no other choice. This old man already said that if we give the Wu clan 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, then the Shadowless Brothers and the Godly Sword sect will also have to give 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. If we calculate it like this, then we Tiangongmen really can't afford it. Hearing Water Spirit's words, Wu Kadi sneered. Whether you can afford it or not, that's your Tiangongmen's business. I, Wu Kadi, only think that since you Tiangongmen promised to give us 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, then you have to fulfill your promise. Otherwise, it would be disrespectful to our Wu clan and looking down on our Wu clan. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, before Water Spirit could reply, Shadowless let out a cold laugh. Wu Kadi, don't listen to Water Spirit's nonsense. How could the mighty Tiangongmen not be able to take out 6 pieces of level 20 equipment? Shadowless paused for a bit, then continued in a more serious tone. Unless Water Spirit's purpose in saying this is to trick us, otherwise, they would definitely be able to take out 6 pieces of level 20 equipment. Wu Kadi, don't be fooled by him. Water Spirit turned to look at Shadowless and said angrily, Shadowless, how have I, Water Spirit, wronged you to let you slander the Tiangongmen like this? After Shui Lingzi spoke up to hear, she took a few deep breaths to calm down her irritable mood before continuing. Shadowless, level 20 equipment is no ordinary equipment. I believe that no matter which sect it is, it would require a large amount of manpower and resources. I've said it before, even for Tiangongmen, it's not an easy task to make so many pieces of equipment. That's why I'm begging you guys to make an exception and reduce the amount by 1. I'm not saying that I won't give it to you. Brother Shadowless, why do you have to be so overbearing? Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless clapped his hands. Since you're sincere, then let's follow Wu Kadi's instructions and make a written agreement to show your sincerity. Otherwise, if you deny it in the future and there are no witnesses, then wouldn't all of our efforts be for nothing? Shui Lingzi quickly waved her hand and solemnly said, Brother Wu-Ying, you can rest assured that as long as I, Shui Lingzi, promise you, I will never go back on my word. As for the written agreement, I think we should forget about it. We're all people with reputations, so how could we fall out over a few pieces of equipment? If this were to spread out, then it wouldn't be good for us. After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kadi shook his head and coldly said, Shui Lingzi, if it was at the beginning, then I would have believed you, but now that I see you going back on your word, I really can't believe you anymore. So please forgive me. If you want us to agree to your conditions, then we must make a written agreement. Otherwise, we won't have any proof. If you don't have to keep your promise, then I won't have to keep my promise either. Everyone will do their own things. Speaking up to here, Wu Kadi's tone paused. He turned to Shui Lingzi and coldly said, Shui Lingzi, how about this? None of us need to keep our promises. Just like at the beginning, you do your own thing and we, if we see something unfair, we will do our own thing. When the time comes, I hope you won't be angry because it was you who didn't keep your promise first, not us. After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi simply went crazy with anger. He didn't think that a dignified expert of the Wu family would speak like a child. Everyone doesn't need to keep their promises. Why would the Tiangongmen give them equipment? Wasn't the purpose of giving them equipment to make them shut their mouths? However, although Shui Lingzi was extremely angry, he could only suppress his anger and calmly said, Brother Wu Kedi, there's no need to make a scene like this. I just said that everyone here has status in the South County. As long as the words have been spoken, how could we go back on our words? As for the written agreement, I think we should forget about it. Don't tell me you don't trust me? Wu Kedi stared at Shui Lingzi and coldly said, We're all people with status in the South County. How could you say something like this? Who was the one who agreed to give us 2 pieces of level 20 equipment? Shui Lingzi, how long has it been, and you want to go back on your word and reduce the 2 pieces of level 20 equipment to 1? How can you make us believe your actions? Speaking to here, Wu Kedi paused for a moment before continuing, I think you should make a written agreement to make us feel at ease. Otherwise, with your character, I won't feel at ease. After hearing Wu Kedi's words, Fire Spirit couldn't hold it in anymore. He took a step forward and shouted, Wu Kedi, don't speak nonsense. Wu Kedi, don't talk nonsense. Even if you don't trust us, we don't trust you. What if you don't abide by our written agreement? Wouldn't we have given you our equipment for nothing? In your dreams. Do you think we Tiangongmen are idiots? Don't even think about it. Hearing the fire spirits roar, Wu Kedi naturally wouldn't be outdone. He pointed at the fire spirit and said angrily, Fire spirit, I've long seen through it. Your Heaven's Craftsman faction is deceiving us. You want to deceive us without any evidence and then use the lack of a written agreement to deny this debt. Fire Spirit shouted, Wu Kedi, do you think we Tiangongmen are like your Wu family? Do you think you can go back on your word? Speaking to here, Fire Spirit suddenly sneered, I think only the Wu family can do something like this. Hearing Fire Spirit's words, Wu Kedi couldn't hold it in anymore. He took a step forward and threw a punch at Fire Spirit. Fire Spirit was already prepared for Wu Kedi's sudden attack, so seeing Wu Kedi attack was within his expectations. Fire Spirit sneered and moved his body slightly to the side, dodging Wu Kedi's attack. Then, he threw a kick at Wu Kedi. Wu Kedi naturally didn't back down. He immediately lifted a leg and blocked Fire Spirit's attack. Then, he threw another punch at Fire Spirit. Fire Spirit swung his fist to block Wu Kedi's attack. Then, he threw his other fist at Wu Kedi. Wu Kedi roared. Chapter 454. Seeing Fire Spirit's ferocious attacks, Wu Kedi roared and suddenly jumped to Fire Spirit's side. He punched out with both fists towards Fire Spirit's ribs. Fire Spirit quickly retreated a few steps and punched out with both fists like lightning, smashing into Wu Kedi's fists. When the 2 fists collided, they were immediately pushed back a few steps by the powerful recoil. Fire Spirit waved his fists and was about to rush up again, but he was stopped by Water Spirit. Water Spirit stopped Fire Spirit and quickly cupped her fists towards Wu Kedi. Brother Wu Kedi, there's no need to fight. As long as we talk things out, isn't that better than anything else? Hearing Water Spirit's words, Wu Kedi pointed at Fire Spirit and angrily said, Fire Spirit, don't think that I'm afraid of you. After this is over, I'll teach you a lesson. Fire Spirit heard this and was about to retort, but was pulled back by Water Spirit. He could only helplessly snort and retreat to the side. Seeing that the 2 couldn't fight anymore, Water Spirit slowly walked in front of Wu Kedi and said softly, Brother Wu Kedi, our disagreement is only about the amount of equipment. If Brother Wu Kudi can agree to this old man's conditions, then the Tiangongman's equipment will be given to the Wu family first. Brother Wu Kudi, what do you think? Hearing Water Spirit's words, Wu Kudi's eyes lit up, but after a while, he reacted. Although Water Spirit's conditions sounded very good, in reality, it wasn't that good. Although the Tiangongman's equipment was good, any equipment could be tested and not used. If the Tiangongman's equipment was suitable for the Wu family, then the Wu family would definitely buy it. However, if it wasn't for a general, then the Wu family naturally wouldn't participate in the buying and selling of the equipment. This meant that even if the Tiangongman had to report to the Wu family for every piece of equipment they made, it wouldn't be of much use. Some of the equipment were very expensive, and even the Wu family would have to think carefully before buying them. So, although Water Spirit's conditions seemed good, it really wasn't that useful. Thinking to hear, Wu Kudi couldn't help but sneer. Water Spirit was very cunning and wanted to use this to trick him. What a joke! While Wu Kudi was hesitating, Water Spirit was staring at him nervously. If Wu Kudi could agree to this condition, then this matter would be much easier. After the Tiangongman made equipment, they would think of ways to notify the entire South region. Because the equipment made by the Tiangongman were not for their own use. They were for their own use. They were to sell them for money. The reason why the Heavens Craftsman sect informed everyone in the South County was naturally to let everyone participate in the purchase of equipment. The Wu family was a large family in the South region. Not only did Water Spirit not mention this condition, but the Heavens Craftsman sect would also tell the Wu family about every piece of equipment they produced. Their goal was to have the Wu family prepare money as soon as possible to buy equipment. Therefore, this condition of Shui Lingzi's couldn't be any more ridiculous than this. Wu Kudi also understood this point and sneered. Water Spirit, you're too smart. You don't want to pay anything and only think about scamming people. Speaking to hear, Wu Kudi paused for a moment before continuing. Water Spirit, I don't need to report this first. I just want to know if you're going to write the contract for the 2 level 20 equipment or not. Seeing Wu Kudi think of her little trick so quickly, Shui Lingzi could only secretly sigh. Then she smiled and said, Brother Wu Kudi, what are you saying? Don't you know what kind of person I, Shui Lingzi, am? Also, why would I lie to you? At this point, Shui Lingzi's tone paused for a moment. Taking advantage of this pause, Shui Lingzi quickly thought of a countermeasure and continued. Brother Wu Kudi, you misunderstood. What I meant by telling Wu Kudi first isn't what you think. When we Tiangongmen forge superior equipment, we will first notify Wu Kudi. If Wu Kudi wants to buy it, then we won't notify other families. If Wu Kudi doesn't need it, then we'll notify other families. Speaking up to hear, Shui Lingzi looked up at Wu Kudi and said with a smile, Brother Wu Kudi, I'm being very sincere in saying this. Hearing Shui Spirit's words, Wu Kudi's feeling of being deceived weakened slightly, but he still couldn't feel relieved. Shui Spirit was an extremely cunning person. As long as he wasn't careful, he could easily be deceived. Wu Kudi thought about this problem and slowly nodded. You didn't lie to me this time. This can be considered the sincerity of you Tiangongmen. However, the 2 level 20 equipment can't be missing. Otherwise, our agreement will be voided. Hearing Wu Kudi's answer, Water Spirit was stunned for a moment before anger surged from the bottom of her heart. She said this preferential condition because she wanted to reduce that piece of equipment. However, listening to Wu Kudi's words, even with such a preferential condition, she still couldn't reduce that piece of equipment. How could this be? Thinking to hear, Water Spirit hurriedly said, Brother Wu Kudi, we already agreed that my condition was to reduce that piece of equipment. Did you forget? Wu Kudi shook his head and lightly said, Since it's like this, then we don't want this discount. Just give us 2 level 20 equipment. Hearing Wu Kudi's words, Water Spirit angrily pointed at Wu Kudi and angrily said, Wu Kudi, isn't this condition good enough? The Tiangongmen have already made such a big concession. Why are you still being so aggressive? Hearing Water Spirit's question, Wu Kudi shook his head. The discounts you mentioned are things for the future. I, Wu Kudi, am inexperienced and can only see what's in front of me. Between 2 level 20 equipment and those discounts, I can only choose 2 level 20 equipment. Please forgive me. Water Spirit stared at Wu Kudi and asked in a deep voice, Brother Wu Kudi, don't tell me you don't want to think about it. Wu Kudi shook his head. There's no need to think about it. I still want 2 level 20 equipment. I feel that this is more reliable. Hearing Wu Kudi's firm answer, Water Spirit took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in her heart. Then she loudly said, Brother Wu Kudi, 2 level 20 equipment is indeed a bit too much. How about this, 1 level 20 equipment and 2 level 10 equipment? That should be enough, right? Hearing Water Spirit's new condition, Wu Kudi pondered for a moment before shaking his head and resolutely said, I don't agree. Chapter 455. Hearing Wu Kudi's answer, Water Spirit asked in a deep voice, Why? Wu Kudi sneered, Water Spirit, do you think that 2 pieces of level 10 equipment can be compared to 1 piece of level 20 equipment? Speaking up to here, Wu Kudi paused for a moment before continuing, Shui Lingzi, do you think I'm stupid and can't figure this out? This time, before Water Spirit could reply, Shadowless spoke first. Water Spirit, if possible, I would also like to use 2 pieces of level 10 equipment to exchange for 1 piece of level 20 equipment from you. Would you agree to that? Hearing Shadowless words, Wu Kudi also said loudly, Yes, me too. I also want to use 2 pieces of level 10 equipment to exchange for 1 piece of level 20 equipment. Water Spirit, let's exchange. After hearing the two's words, Water Spirit's face became very ugly. After a while, she turned to Wu Kudi and said, Wu Kudi, since you don't agree, then I'll use 3 pieces of level 10 equipment to exchange for 1 piece of level 20 equipment. Is that okay? This time, without waiting for Wu Kudi's answer, Shadowless sneered again, Water Spirit, then I'll also use 3 pieces of level 10 equipment to exchange for 1 piece of level 20 equipment. Wu Kudi looked at Water Spirit and said indifferently, Water Spirit, you heard it. 3 pieces of level 10 equipment and 1 piece of level 20 equipment are not comparable. Water Spirit naturally understood what Wu Kudi and Shadowless were talking about. When it came to the level of equipment, it wasn't a simple math. According to math, 2 pieces of level 10 equipment added together were equal to 1 piece of level 20 equipment. But in terms of equipment levels, it was far from that simple. If one wanted to craft high-level equipment, the difficulty would increase exponentially with every increase in level. If one were to compare based on the value of the equipment, if one were to take out a piece of level 20 equipment, no matter how many pieces of level 10 equipment you took out, no one would exchange with you. A piece of level 20 equipment could withstand a level 20 attack. But a piece of level 10 equipment could only withstand a level 10 attack. Even if you had 10 pieces of level 10 equipment, they would still not be able to withstand a level 20 attack. Moreover, you could wear a piece of level 20 equipment, but you couldn't wear more than 10 pieces of level 10 equipment. Therefore, everyone would use level 20 equipment to exchange for level 10 equipment, no matter how many there were. Water Spirit looked at Wu Kudi and was silent for a while. Then, she suddenly stretched out her hand and said loudly, Brother Wu Kudi, the Tiangongmen and Wu family have a good relationship for generations. I think that we shouldn't fall out in our generation. I hope that you can understand the difficulties of the Tiangongmen. I'll give you 5 pieces of level 10 equipment to exchange for that piece of level 20 equipment. If Brother Wu agrees, then we can still be good friends. After hearing Water Spirit's words, Wu Kedi knew that he should stop before going too far, but his goal was still the 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. He didn't know if Kikyaman's matter was true or not, but these 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, as long as Water Spirit agreed, then he definitely had a way to get them. This was the most practical thing. The Wu family was not the Tiangongmen. All of their equipment was bought with money. Now that there was such a good opportunity, how could Wu Kedi let it go? Thinking up to here, Wu Kedi didn't look at the pale-faced Water Spirit. He turned to Shadowless and asked with a smile, "Brother Shadowless, if it was you, would you use 5 pieces of level 10 equipment to exchange for that piece of level 20 equipment?" Hearing Wu Kedi's question, Shadowless didn't hesitate and shook his head. "No, 5 pieces of level 10 equipment can't be compared to a piece of level 20 equipment. If it was me, then I definitely wouldn't exchange." Hearing Shadowless answer, Wu Kedi nodded and turned to look at Water Spirit. He smiled and said, "Water Spirit, you heard it too. 5 pieces of level 10 equipment can't be compared to a piece of level 20 equipment. If we exchange like this, then we'll be at a disadvantage." Hearing Wu Kedi's words, Water Spirit only felt that it was grating. All of the equipment here belonged to the Tiangongmen. Wu Kedi saying that he was at a disadvantage, wasn't this ridiculous? Thinking up to here, a sense of powerlessness rose in Water Spirit's heart. A dignified consecrated of the Tiangongmen was forced to this extent. It was ridiculous. She gave them equipment, but these people were still being picky. It was unreasonable. If it was in normal times, no matter what kind of equipment the Tiangongmen gave others, they would be flattered. But now, not only were these people not grateful to the Tiangongmen, they were even complaining. Thinking up to here, Water Spirit just wanted to grab all of these people and beat them up. Then she would see if they still had a conscience. The Heavens Craftsman faction didn't know how to conjure magic either. Every piece of equipment could only be forged with capital. If she really had to give these 3 people 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, Water Spirit would feel dizzy just thinking about it. Deep-sea cold iron and carefully crafted equipment could resist attacks of level 10. If she wanted to craft level 20 equipment, then she would need even rarer materials. Deep-sea cold iron and gold essence were already expensive, not to mention materials that could craft level 20 equipment. The price made Water Spirit's heart ache just thinking about it. Even so, these 3 greedy people in front of her still weren't satisfied. But even if Water Spirit was about to explode in anger, she knew that at this time, she could only endure. As long as these 3 people were dealt with, then she could make a move on Kikyaman. Kikyaman could use the skin of a wild bear to make armor that could resist level 24 attack. This was something that Water Spirit had heard, but she didn't see it with her own eyes. If all of this was true, then even if she had to pay 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, it would be worth it. However, Shui Lingzi was very clear that the possibility of this being true was very small. According to Water Spirit's estimation, Kikyaman most likely used some kind of secret method to temporarily increase the defense of the wild bear's skin to a terrifying level. If one wanted to use the skin of a wild bear to make a leather armor with such powerful defensive capabilities, it would be impossible. Water Spirit was just trying her luck. If Kikyaman could make such a powerful armor, then the Tiangongmen would make a big profit. But if Kikyaman only used some kind of secret method to temporarily increase the defense of the wild bear's skin, then it wouldn't be of much use. There were many things that could increase defense. For example, the Tiangongmen's spirit water was a very heaven-defying item. The reason why the spiritual water was said to be a heaven-defying item was because the increase in defense by the spiritual water was permanent and would not change due to the passage of time. Chapter 456. This was a test of luck. If Kikyaman could really make such a high defense armor, then even if the Tiangongmen had to pay 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, it would be worth it. If all of this was fake, then the Tiangongmen would suffer a huge loss. Thinking of this, Water Spirit couldn't make up her mind. If she succeeded, then she would become the hero of the Tiangongmen. But if she failed, then she wouldn't be able to stay in the Tiangongmen anymore. Looking at her fluttering white beard, Water Spirit couldn't help but hesitate. If she failed, then she would be doomed eternally. Seeing that Water Spirit wasn't willing to say anything, Shadowless suddenly sneered, "Water Spirit, it seems like you don't have much sincerity. It's just 2 pieces of level 20 equipment and you don't even want to give it to us. How about you don't even take out a single piece? Wouldn't that be more economical?" Shadowless words woke up Water Spirit from her thoughts. Water Spirit looked up at Shadowless, then turned to Wu Kadi and suddenly said, "Brother Wu Kadi, just for a promise, the Tiangongmen have to pay each person 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. Do you think it's worth it?" Hearing Water Spirit's question, Wu Kadi froze for a moment, then shook his head and sneered, "Not worth it. I think we should just forget about this matter. Just like Brother Shadowless said, we didn't make a promise. The Tiangongmen would also save 6 pieces of level 20 equipment. Wouldn't that be better?" Hearing Wu Kadi's answer, Water Spirit sighed. If the Tiangongmen saved these 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, what would happen to me? Wu Kadi sneered. Nothing would happen. It would be the same as now. Everyone can do whatever they want and say whatever they want. Wouldn't that be better? Hearing Wu Kadi's answer, Water Spirit clenched her teeth in anger, but there was nothing she could do. No matter how high her and Fire Spirit's martial arts were, it was impossible for them to deal with so many people. If they forced themselves to fight, not only would they be beaten up badly, they would also become a joke in the Jianghu. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi sighed. She looked up at Wu Kadi and sincerely said, "Brother Wu Kadi, the Heaven's Craftsman Gate and the Wu family have been friends for so many years. In consideration of this friendship, I'll use 2 pieces of level 15 equipment to replace that level 20 equipment. What do you think?" Hearing Water Spirit's words, Wu Kadi didn't hesitate and shook his head. "Water Spirit, you want to use 2 pieces of level 15 equipment for level 20 equipment? They don't seem to be equal. If it was you, would you agree?" Water Spirit bitterly smiled and shook her head. "No, but I ask for Brother Wu Kadi's understanding. The Tiangongmen really can't take out so much level 20 equipment. If Brother Wu Kadi agrees, I'll make up for Brother Wu Kadi's loss in the future." Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kadi nodded and said, "Shui Lingzi, I'll say the ugly words first. It's better for you and me to make things clear. Now, let me ask you, how do you plan on compensating my Wu family?" Water Spirit thought for a bit before asking, "If Brother Wu Kadi isn't satisfied with my conditions, then tell me, what should we do to satisfy your conditions?" Hearing Water Spirit's words, Wu Kadi smiled and nodded. "Water Spirit, since you want me to say it, then I'll say it." Water Spirit nodded. "Brother Wu Kadi, as long as we Tiangongmen can do it, we'll definitely do it for you." Hearing Water Spirit's answer, Wu Kadi nodded with satisfaction and said with a smile, "Since you're so straightforward, then I'll be frank." Water Spirit nodded. "There's no harm in saying it." Wu Kadi lightly coughed, then slowly said, "You can first give us a level 20 equipment and 2 level 15 equipment." At this point, Wu Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. "After a year, the Heaven's Craftsman Gate will give the Wu family a piece of level 20 equipment. Then we will be even." Hearing Wu Kadi's conditions, Water Spirit was stunned for a while before suddenly shouting, "Wu Kadi, you're too shameless. We've already given you a level 20 equipment and 2 level 15 equipment. How can we give you another level 20 equipment after a year? Isn't this a bit too much?" Hearing Water Spirit's roar, Wu Kadi shook his head. "Water Spirit, this matter is consensual. The 2 level 15 equipment you mentioned can only be considered as interest. So, after a year, you still have to give me a level 20 equipment. Is there something wrong with that?" Hearing Wu Kadi's answer, Water Spirit suddenly flew into a rage and crazily roared. Wu-Kadi, you're too shameless. You think level 15 equipment doesn't need to be crafted? That it doesn't need materials? That it just fell from the sky? I definitely won't agree to this condition of yours. You should just give up. Wu-Kadi spread out his hands. Water Spirit, you should calm down. You're the one who asked me to state my conditions, so of course I'll state the conditions that are most beneficial to me. Don't tell me you expect me to say that I don't want the equipment? Isn't that a joke? Water Spirit angrily said, even if you want to state conditions, you should at least state conditions that everyone can accept. How can you even say such hateful conditions? Wu-Kadi shook his head. Since you don't want to accept this condition, then I can't do anything about it. In order to reach an agreement between us, please immediately take out 2 level 20 equipment. Hearing Wu-Kadi's words, Water Spirit swallowed back the words she was about to say. She took a few deep breaths before shaking her head. No, we definitely don't have 2 level 20 equipment. Wu-Kadi coldly laughed. If that's the case, then what's the point of us talking about this? How about we just cancel this agreement? You Tiangongmen don't need to give us equipment. Our Wu family can do whatever we want. You Tiangongmen can't do anything about it. Seeing that both sides were in a deadlock again, Shadowless suddenly stepped up and said, You two, let's talk about this peacefully. Don't let your emotions get the better of you. Saying this, Shadowless turned to look at Water Spirit and said with a smile, Water Spirit, don't you think so? Seeing Shadowless's gaze, Water Spirit froze for a moment. The anger in her heart quickly dissipated. She suddenly remembered that if she got angry with Wu-Kadi now, then it wouldn't be good for her and Fire Spirit at all. Her and Fire Spirit's goal this time was to get the Kikyaman. As long as they could bring the Kikyaman back, then everything would be fine. Thinking up to here, Water Spirit let out a sigh of relief and calmed her anger. She no longer turned to look at Wu-Kadi and slowly said, Brother Wu-Kadi, let's talk about peacefully. Chapter 457. After hearing Water Spirit's words, Wu-Kadi nodded indifferently. Water Spirit, I'm very sincere, but you keep going back on your words. You're not sincere at all. Hearing Wu-Kadi's words, the anger in Water Spirit's heart was ignited again. The Tiangongmen gave you equipment, and you're still being so picky. Are you even human? Not only that, but you're still making sarcastic remarks. It's simply infuriating. Water Spirit was sure that if the 2 pieces of level 15 equipment were to be given to someone, that person would probably be deeply grateful to the Heavens Craftsman faction. However, Wu-Kadi seemed to be at a disadvantage when faced with 2 pieces of level 15 equipment. Water Spirit was so angry that her hands and feet were trembling. If there was a way, she would immediately tear Wu-Kadi to pieces to vent the anger in her heart. But that was just a thought. Water Spirit was sure that if she got angry right now, the ones who would be torn to pieces would be her and Fire Spirit. This time, the Wu family not only sent the 2 brothers, Wu-Kadi and Wu-Kadi, but also their elder, Wu-Lai. Wu-Lai's martial arts were unfathomable, so she guessed that if there were no accidents, she and Fire Spirit together wouldn't be a match for Wu-Lai. They would definitely be beaten up miserably. Water Spirit lowered her head and thought for a bit. Then she looked up at Wu-Kadi and said, Just like Brother Wu-Kadi said, I can give your Wu family a piece of level 20 equipment. After a year, I'll give you another piece of level 20 equipment. How about this? It was reasonable to say that Water Spirit's condition was already very generous. Level 20 equipment was something that many people had never seen in their entire life. Given 2 pieces of such good equipment to the Wu clan for free, Wu-Kadi would have been overjoyed if it were any other time. But now it was different. The more Water Spirit said this, the more suspicious Wu-Kadi became. The rumors about Kikyaman were true. Kikyaman could really use the skin of a wild bear to make armor that could block level 24 attack. Thinking of this, Wu-Kadi became very excited. There were plenty of wild bears in the wastelands, as many as one wanted. However, with Kikyaman's help, crafting LV-24 equipment would be a piece of cake. Level 20 equipment wasn't bad, but Wu-Kadi knew that Kikyaman could use wild bear pelts to make level 24 leather armor. In his eyes, level 20 equipment was no different from toys. This meant that if the Tiangongmen were willing to give him the 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, Wu-Kadi would take them. If the Tiangongmen did not want to, Wu-Kadi would not force them. Wu-Kadi did not care about the 2 level 20 equipment, but he had to bring the Kikyaman back. Thinking up to this point, Wu-Kadi suddenly sneered, "Water Spirit, can we not go back on our words? I just said that if you want to pay for the other level 20 equipment a year later, you will have to pay interest." At this point, Wu-Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. "The interest is the 2 pieces of level 15 equipment. Unless the Heavens Craftsman faction wants to give us level 20 equipment right away, we'll have to pay interest if we delay the payment." Hearing Wu-Kadi's words, Water Spirit sighed, "Brother Wu-Kadi, can't we have a good talk?" Wu-Kadi sneered, "Am I not having a good talk with you? If you didn't go back on your words at the beginning, we would have already reached an agreement." Hearing this, Water Spirit bitterly said, "Brother Wu-Kadi, this is all my fault, but we Tiangongmen also have our difficulties. If we only pay you 2 level 20 equipment, then the Tiangongmen can still afford it." Speaking up to here, Water Spirit turned to look at Shadowless before continuing, "But Brother Shadowless also wants 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, this will be difficult." Speaking of this, Water Spirit sighed again before slowly saying, "Wanting to make a level 20 equipment is no small matter, it is not an easy matter. Paying for so many level 20 equipment in such a short time, even the Tiangongmen might not be able to do it. So Brother Wu-Kadi, please cooperate with us and understand the difficulties of the Tiangongmen. As long as you agree to pay for the other level 20 equipment a year later, our agreement will take effect immediately." After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu-Kadi shook his head. "Shui Lingzi, I'll be honest with you. It's not that our Wu clan is being unreasonable. It's just that your Heavens Craftsman faction has gone too far." Speaking of this, Wu-Kadi paused for a moment before continuing. "At the beginning, we asked for a level 24 equipment, but you did not agree and insisted on giving us 2 level 20 equipment. Good, remember what you said. Our Wu family will give you face and use 2 pieces of level 20 equipment to replace that level 24 equipment." Speaking up to here, Wu-Kadi looked at Shui Lingzi and suddenly shouted, "Shui Lingzi, our Wu family has already taken a step back, but not only are you not grateful, you even think that our Wu family is easy to bully." Just as Wu-Kadi said this, Shui Lingzi waved her hand and interrupted him. "Brother Wu-Kadi, you're wrong. It's clearly our Heavens Craftsman faction who has repeatedly exercised forbearance. So how is it your Wu family who has taken a step back?" Wu-Kadi angrily said, "Taking a level 24 equipment back to 2 level 20 equipment, isn't that taking a step back?" Water Spirit nodded. "I am very grateful for this point, the Wu family is very reasonable." Wu-Kadi sneered, "You yourself have admitted this point, but how did you treat us? In the end, you are not even willing to give us 2 level 20 equipment." Speaking of this, Wu-Kadi sneered a few more times before continuing, "Not only that, you also think our Wu family is a fool. You actually want to use 2 level 10 equipment to exchange for a level 20 equipment. Tell me, is there such a fool in this world?" Water Spirit hurriedly waved her hand and said, "Brother Wu-Kadi, you misunderstood. This old man really did not mean that. What I said just now was just a temporary measure." Speaking up to here, Water Spirit sighed. "Our Heavens Craftsman Gate really can't take out that many level 20 equipment, so we'd like to ask Brother Wu-Kadi to make an exception and exchange 2 level 10 equipment for that level 20 equipment." Wu-Kadi sneered and waved his hand. "Water Spirit, By doing this, aren't you treating our Wu family as fools? Do you think our Wu family doesn't know that 2 level 10 equipment can compare to a level 20 equipment? Water Spirit, you are really going too far. I am so angry. Seeing Wu Kadi getting angry, Water Spirit hurriedly explained, Brother Wu Kadi, you really misunderstood me. Chapter 458. Wu Kadi angrily said, Water Spirit, could it be that you want to use 2 level 10 equipment to exchange for 1 level 20 equipment? Did I misunderstand you? Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Water Spirit blushed and hurriedly waved his hand. Brother Wu Kadi, it's already over, let's not talk about it anymore. Since you're not satisfied with the conditions just now, we can talk about it again until everyone is satisfied. Wu Kadi stretched out 2 fingers and coldly said, 2 level 20 equipment, can't be delayed, this deal is done. Seeing this, Water Spirit hurriedly waved his hand and said, Brother Wu Kadi, it's really impossible to pay immediately. I can promise you that within a year, I will definitely pay the other level 20 equipment to your Wu clan. Wu Kadi decisively shook his head. No, you Tiangongmen don't keep your word, I'm really worried. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Water Spirit was a bit angry. Wu Kadi, when have we Tiangongmen ever not kept our word? You better explain it clearly. Wu Kadi heard this and coldly laughed. Water Spirit, with what you did just now, do you think we're not worried? This time, before Water Spirit could say anything, Shadowless, who stood beside her, suddenly spoke up. Water Spirit, you don't need to say anything more. No matter what you say, nobody believes that your Heaven's Craftsman Gate can't even produce a few pieces of level 20 equipment. Water Spirit shook his head and bitterly smiled. Brother Shadowless, although the Tiangongmen are rich, if you want to take out so many level 20 equipment at once, I'm afraid that it will immediately affect the operations of the Tiangongmen. The consequences would be unimaginable. Water Spirit's words were sincere, and it was also the truth. Just by looking at how Han Qingyun used deep-sea cold iron and fine gold to forge equipment, it should be clear how high-level level 20 equipment was. Deep-sea cold iron and fine gold equipment could only be considered level 10 equipment, it probably couldn't even reach level 15 equipment. One could imagine how difficult it was to forge level 20 equipment. Indeed, the Tiangongmen were big. If they used up all their resources, they could still forge 6 level 20 equipment. But what about in the future? How were the Tiangongmen going to operate in the future if all the top-grade materials were used up? It was impossible for the huge Tiangongmen to only produce level 10 and below equipment. If they really produced equipment below level 10, the reputation of the Tiangongmen would be completely destroyed. Water Spirit naturally knew this, so she didn't want to give them so much level 20 equipment at once. Shadowless and Wu Kadi naturally knew the difficulties of the Tiangongmen, but so what if they knew? This was such a good opportunity. If he did not take advantage of it and earn 2 pieces of level 20 equipment from the Tiangongmen, he would not have another chance in the future. As for whether or not the Tiangongmen had enough materials to produce more advanced equipment, that had nothing to do with them. Looking at the bitter face of Shui Lingzi, although Wu Kadi understood Shui Lingzi's difficulties, he still didn't want to let her go. If Shui Lingzi backed off, Wu Kadi swore that he would not make things difficult for him. Wu Kadi naturally understood why Shui Lingzi was doing this. Shui Lingzi wanted to take away the Tiangongmen and take the secrets of the Tiangongmen for herself. If she gave up on this plan, Wu Kadi naturally did not need to take her 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. With Kikiamen, there would be plenty of advanced equipment. Thinking of this, Wu Kadi suddenly said loudly, Shui Lingzi, we are all from the South region, I'll give you a suggestion. Hearing Wu Kadi's words, Shui Lingzi's eyes lit up. Brother Wu Kadi, if you have something to say, just say it. Wu Kadi nodded and said softly, I think, since the Tiangongmen can't take out that much equipment, why don't you all leave? Hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi's heart sank. If she left like this, wouldn't she miss out on a good opportunity? Once the secret of Kikyaman was spread out, if Kikyaman could really create such heaven-defying equipment, then the Tiangongmen would no longer have a foothold in the South region. Once level 20 equipment was everywhere in the South region, the decline of the Tiangongmen would only be a matter of time. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi's heart was filled with sorrow. This time, she had to seize this opportunity. If she missed this opportunity, the Tiangongmen would be finished. Shui Lingzi looked at Wu Kedi and suddenly sighed. Brother Wu Kedi, thank you for your good intentions, but Kikyaman is closely related to sect leader Han's disappearance. So, I must let Kikyaman come with us to help with the investigation. Hearing Shui Lingzi's expected words, Wu Ke let out a sigh. In that case, I hope the Heavens Craftsman faction can give me my 2 pieces of LV-20 equipment as soon as possible. Hearing Wu Kedi mention this matter again, Shui Lingzi became impatient again. If Qiqiao Sect's secret was true, and they could really use wilderness bear's skin to forge level 20 equipment, then giving Wu Clan 2 pieces of level 20 equipment wouldn't matter much. But if Kikyaman's secret was fake, and they only used some item to temporarily increase the defense of the leather armor, then this secret would be useless. Water Spirit was very clear that if there was an item that could increase the defense of a wild bear's leather, then the value of this item would far exceed the value of this leather armor. Not only that, but this item would also be very difficult to obtain. It might even be the only one in the world. So, if Kikyaman's secret was fake, then even if they captured the people from Kikyaman, they wouldn't be able to increase the strength of the Tiangongmen. Paying the 3 of them 6 pieces of level 20 equipment was no different from throwing them into the water for nothing. Thinking about this, Shui Lingzi became even more hesitant. She couldn't make the right decision. At this critical moment, she didn't know which decision was right. Shui Lingzi could see that Wu Kedi and the others were making things difficult for her because they had the same goal. Shui Lingzi was sure that if she withdrew from the Kikyaman, then Wu Kedi and Shadowless would immediately become enemies. It could even be said that the Godly Sword sect would also join this group of enemies. Shui Lingzi didn't dare to test her luck. Whether Kikyaman's secret was true or not, no one could be sure. This meant that there was a 50% chance that it was true. Once she withdrew, if the people from Kikyaman were taken away by the 3 groups, and if Kikyaman's secret was true, then the Tiangongmen would be finished. So, Shui Lingzi didn't dare to test her luck. She was afraid that Kikyaman's secret was true. If it was true, then everything would be over. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi sighed, turned to Wu Kedi and slowly said, Brother Wu Kedi, on account of the relationship between our 2 families, can you make an exception? Chapter 459. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kedi shook his head. Shui Lingzi, it's not that I don't want to bend the rules, but you really don't let me feel at ease. Speaking up to here, Wu Kedi paused for a bit before continuing. Shui Lingzi, if you were me, I'm afraid you wouldn't bend the rules either. Hearing Wu Kedi's words, Shui Lingzi silently nodded. Although she knew that Wu Kedi was telling the truth, she was still thinking quickly about how to deal with the situation in front of her. 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. If it was only the Wu clan, then it would be fine. After all, the Tiangongmen would be able to gather 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. What worried Shui Lingzi was that if she gave the Wu clan 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, then Shadowless and the Godly Sword sect would definitely not only give them 1 piece. If that was the case, then the Tiangongmen would have to pay 6 pieces of level 20 equipment. The Tiangongmen could indeed take out 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, but after taking them out, they would definitely lose a lot of strength. In the next few years, they would not be able to make any more high-level equipment. This kind of loss was not something that Shui Lingzi was willing to bear. Then what should she do? Shui Lingzi looked around and suddenly had an idea. This time, the Wu clan had sent 3 experts. Wu Kedi and Wu Ketian were easy to deal with, but Wu Lai was definitely not someone that the two of them could deal with. If she wanted to rope them in and make them ignore this matter, then other than giving them 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, there was no other way. Although the Wu clan had to give 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, Shadowless and the Godly Sword sect did not need to. This time, only Shadowless came. No matter how strong Shadowless was, Water Spirit believed that he wouldn't be a match for her and Fire Spirit's winning streak. There was also the Godly Sword sect. Although Yin Dao's martial arts were not bad, in Shui Lingzi's eyes, he was still too weak. Thinking up to here, Shui Lingzi suddenly had an idea. Give the Wu clan 2 pieces of level 20 equipment and make them ignore this matter. As for Shadowless, as long as the Wu clan did not interfere, Shui Lingzi would not put Shadowless in her eyes. Understanding this point, Shui Lingzi's heart relaxed. She cupped her fists towards Wu Kedi and smiled. Brother Wu Kedi, I was too stingy just now. But don't worry, as long as the Wu clan agrees not to interfere, I will definitely give you the 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Wu Kedi was stunned. Just a moment ago Shui Lingzi was so calculative, why did she suddenly become so generous? Wu Kedi did not know what was going on, but since she agreed to give him 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, then this was definitely a good thing. There were benefits to scam, there were only benefits, there was no harm to steal. Thinking of this, Wu Kedi smiled and said, Well said, as long as you keep your promise, we generals will not go back on our words. Lingzi once again, to Lingzi once again, Lingzi, thank. After saying this, Shui Lingzi turned to Shadowless and smiled. Brother Shadowless, do you want to leave by yourself, or do you want us to ask you to leave? Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless was stunned. After a while, he suddenly let out a cold laugh. Shui Lingzi, do you think that just because I'm the only one here, you'll be able to defeat me? Shui Lingzi quickly waved her hand. Brother Shadowless, don't misunderstand. As long as you promise me not to interfere, you can leave. We brothers will not say a word. Shadowless shook his head. No, I am a person who loves to meddle in other people's business. If I see something wrong, I will want to interfere. This is a habit that has been there for many years. I'm afraid it can't be changed in a short period of time. Please forgive me. Hearing Shadowless's answer, Shui Lingzi took a step forward and coldly smiled. Brother Shadowless, do you think you can do anything by yourself? Shadowless shook his head. I don't know, but I have a very bad habit. Even if you know you can't do anything, you still want to try. Shui Lingzi sneered. So Brother Shadowless, you don't want to give us face? Face. Shadowless smiled. This isn't a matter of face, but a matter of right or wrong. If your Heaven's Craftsman faction is just and reasonable, then even if you lose face, I won't get involved in this matter. Shadowless paused for a bit before continuing, but if you Tiangongmen are unreasonable, then no matter how powerful you Tiangongmen are, I will still interfere. Hearing Shadowless's answer, Shui Lingzi nodded and took a step forward. Brother Shadowless, seeing that we are all friends, you won't even give me this bit of face? Seeing Shui Lingzi take a step closer to him, Shadowless didn't care at all and coldly smiled. Shui Lingzi, do you have many levels of friends? Shui Lingzi sneered. Shadowless, what do you mean? Shadowless turned his head to look at Wu Kedi, then smiled and said, The Wu clan has many experts here today, so the Heaven's Craftsman faction is willing to spend 2 pieces of level 20 equipment to bribe the Wu clan. At this point, Shadowless turned to look at the people from the Godly Knife faction. He then continued, Our people and the Godly Knife faction are few in number, and our martial arts are low. So, you want to force us to leave and save the 2 level 20 equipment? Hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi's face turned red. Luckily it was night time, so they weren't seen by many people. Shui Lingzi calmed herself down and sternly shouted, Don't talk nonsense. Let me ask you, what do you want? Do you want to obediently leave, or do you want to promise me that you won't cause trouble again? Hearing Shui Lingzi's question, Shadowless shook his head. I don't want to agree to either of your conditions. I don't want to obediently leave, but I also don't want to listen to you. Just as Shadowless said this, Shui Lingzi suddenly let out a low roar, and in the blink of an eye, she rushed towards Shadowless like a bolt of lightning. His fists were as fast as lightning, creating a strong gust of wind that blew against Shadowless's clothes. Shadowless martial arts weren't as good as Shui Lingzi's, but why was he called Shadowless? It was because he was extremely fast, so people called him Shadowless. As for his real name, it had long been forgotten. Seeing Shui Lingzi's fist coming towards him, Shadowless only coldly smiled and disappeared, leaving only his cold laughter in the night. Although Shadowless disappeared quickly, Shui Lingzi wasn't someone to be trifled with. Seeing that Shadowless had dodged, Shui Lingzi let out a cold snort and sent a powerful punch towards where Shadowless had disappeared to. Shadowless once again let out a cold laugh and suddenly appeared beside Shui Lingzi. Chapter 460. Shadowless came to Shui Lingzi's side and suddenly raised his hand. A shiny dagger appeared in his hand. The dagger carried a deep cold light and suddenly stabbed towards Shui Lingzi's ribs. Feeling the cold wind, Shui Lingzi suddenly jumped into the air and threw a punch towards Shadowless's head. Shadowless saw that he didn't succeed and didn't dare to stay. He quickly bent his body and rushed forward, dodging Shui Lingzi's attack. Although Shadowless dodged Shui Lingzi's attack, the strong wind caused his hair to become messy. Shadowless rushed forward a few steps and dodged Shui Lingzi's attack before stabilizing his body. Looking back at Shui Lingzi, his heart couldn't help but be shocked. He thought that with his Qinggong, even if he couldn't win against Shui Lingzi, he wouldn't lose. But Shui Lingzi's punch just now made him understand that Shui Lingzi's martial arts absolutely couldn't be underestimated. Just now, he had only withstood the wind from Shui Lingzi's punch, and it had already caused pain to his face. If he had been hit by Shui Lingzi's punch, he would have been finished. Thinking of this, Shadowless didn't dare to be careless. He turned around and cupped his fist towards Shui Lingzi. Shui Lingzi, your martial arts are really good. Shadowless paused for a moment before continuing. However, no matter how good your martial arts are, I'm afraid it's impossible for you to defeat me. As soon as Shadowless's voice fell, a voice rang out beside him. Is that so? What if I join in? When Shadowless heard this, he suddenly realized something. Suddenly, he felt a gust of wind coming from the side. He didn't dare to be careless anymore. He quickly jumped up and jumped into the air. Shadowless's body had just jumped up when Shui Lingzi's powerful punch flew past his feet. Before Shadowless could rejoice that he dodged in time, Shui Lingzi also jumped into the air and smashed towards Shadowless. Shadowless didn't think that the two would team up to deal with him. He quickly flipped in the air and dodged Shui Lingzi's attack. After this attack, Shadowless fell to the ground. Not only that, he hurriedly took a few steps back to open up the distance between him and Water Spirit. You Tiangong men are really capable. With your status, you actually joined hands to deal with me. Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by the people of Jianghu? Water Spirit blushed, but before she could say anything, Fire Spirit roared, against a villain like you, no matter how many people there are, it won't be enough. Shadowless couldn't help but sneer at Shui Lingzi. Shui Lingzi, is this how your Heaven's Craftsman faction acts? Shui Lingzi shook her head. Today's matter is of great importance, we have no other choice. Speaking up to here, Water Spirit paused and sighed before continuing. Brother Wu Ying, as long as you promise to stay out of this place, I won't make things difficult for you. Don't worry, I, Water Spirit, will keep my word. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless suddenly sneered. When facing a strong enemy, you promise them benefits. When dealing with a weak enemy, you act in a tyrannical manner. So this is how your Heaven's Craftsman faction does things. It's really an eye-opener for me. Fire Spirit raged. So what? I told you not to meddle in other people's business. You didn't listen. Are you going to blame us brothers for attacking? Shadowless shook his head and turned to Shuilingzi. Shuilingzi, you think the two of you can really deal with me? After hearing Shadowless's words, Shuilingzi sighed. Brother Shadowless, your movement technique is very good, but with us brothers working together, you're definitely not our match. It's best if you listen to me and leave as soon as possible. Shadowless sneered. I don't believe you. Shuilingzi sighed again. Since you don't believe me, then I have no choice but to restrain you. After saying this, Shuilingzi turned into a bolt of lightning and charged at Shadowless. At the same time, the fire spirit let out an angry roar. He jumped into the air and attacked Shadowless from the sky. Shadowless didn't dare to fight back. He could only stomp on the ground and jump out horizontally. Shuilingzi already knew that Shadowless would do this. Before she reached him, she changed direction and chased after him. Shuilingzi could change direction, but Fire Spirit couldn't. Shuilingzi was charging on the ground, so she could change direction. Fire Spirit was in the air, so he couldn't change direction. Seeing Shuilingzi rush up alone, Shadowless sneered. He was also waiting for this opportunity. Shadowless flipped his hand and a shiny dagger appeared in his hand. In the next moment, the cold dagger turned into a bright light and welcomed Shuilingzi's attack. Even if Shuilingzi's martial arts were higher than Shadowless, he didn't dare to meet the dagger with his bare hands. Helpless, Shuilingzi could only slow down her attack and dodge to the side. At the same time, she regretted not bringing her own weapon. She thought that Kikyaman didn't need those things. She didn't expect these forces to appear out of nowhere. Seeing Shuilingzi dodge to the side, Shadowless wasn't willing to let her go. With a fierce flick of his hand, the dagger stabbed towards Shuilingzi. Shuilingzi took advantage of the moment Shadowless changed his move and suddenly reached out to hit Shadowless's wrist, wanting to knock his dagger away. Shuilingzi's move was very fast. Shadowless couldn't dodge it even if he wanted to. He could only reach out his left hand and block Shuilingzi's punch. But the two's fists collided. Although they both attacked in a hurry, they were still forced back a step by the recoil before they could stabilize themselves. Shadowless had just stabilized himself, and before he could react, Fire Spirit had already landed on the ground and kicked at Shadowless's side. Shadowless saw the situation and quickly took a step back, dodging Fire Spirit's attack. At the same time, he waved his dagger at Fire Spirit's foot. Seeing the cold glint of the dagger coming at his feet, the Fire Spirit was scared. He quickly roared and stopped his attack, barely dodging Shadowless' dagger. After forcing Fire Spirit back, before Shadowless could relax, he felt a gust of wind coming from the side. Shadowless was shocked. He couldn't care less anymore. He stomped on the ground and jumped into the air with all his strength. Fire Spirit saw this and was about to chase after him. However, Shadowless flipped in the air and landed far away. Fire Spirit roared and wanted to chase, but he was stopped by Shuilingzi. Shuilingzi turned to look at Shadowless and smiled. Brother Shadowless, we brothers haven't even used our full strength and you've already lost. I think you should accept our conditions. Chapter 461. Shuilingzi naturally had her reasons for not chasing after Shadowless. Although Shadowless came alone this time, the power behind him couldn't be underestimated. My family might be famous in the South County, but Shadowless was different. The power behind Shadowless was a powerful force in the entire Anwu country. More importantly, the Wu family could only rely on the Tiangongmen to get equipment in the South County, but Shadowless was different. He could get equipment in the entire Anwu country. Therefore, they didn't rely on the Tiangongmen very much. Therefore, Shuilingzi didn't want to offend Shadowless and the power behind him. Hearing Shuilingzi's words, Shadowless sneered. Lingzi, do you think you two brothers can defeat me with your strength? Shadowless paused for a moment before continuing. You two brothers didn't use your full strength just now. Do you think I used my full strength just now? Lingzi smiled and waved her hand. Brother Shadowless, don't say such things. No matter what, we Tiangongmen don't want to be enemies with you. Lingzi paused for a moment before slowly continuing. Brother Shadowless, you heard what I said just now. Our Tiangongmen's vice sect leader mysteriously disappeared during this competition. Therefore, we need to bring Kikiamen's people back. After this matter is investigated, we will naturally let them go. This is a matter between us Tiangongmen and Kikiamen, so I ask Brother Shadowless to not get involved in this matter. After this matter is over, I will definitely go to your place to thank you. As soon as Lingzi finished speaking, Sun Qiaoer, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke up. Lingzi, this matter really has nothing to do with our Kikiamen. I already said that sect leader Han's matter was done by Gu Yunfei. If there's anything, you can go find him. Why are you making things difficult for our Kikiamen? Hearing Sun Qiaoer's words, Shadowless sneered. Lingzi, you've heard it too. Since Seven Skills sect has already explained this matter clearly, why are you still pestering them? Is there a purpose in doing so? Lingzi's expression changed and she quickly said, Brother Shadowless, when sect leader Han disappeared, it was during the competition between Kikiamen and the Tiangongmen. If you say this has nothing to do with Kikiamen, who would believe it? As soon as Water Spirit's voice fell, Shadowless immediately replied, I believe you. After saying this, Shadowless paused for a moment before explaining. Sect leader Sun and the others' martial arts aren't high, and sect leader Han's martial arts isn't something they can compare to. Even if sect leader Sun and the others wanted to harm sect leader Han, how could the Seven Skills sect accomplish such a thing in front of so many people? Furthermore, their martial arts were inferior to sect leader Han's. Moreover, sect leader Sun also said that this matter was done by Gu Yunfei. Gu Yunfei is an elder of the Tiangongmen and Han Qinyun is his disciple. If Gu Yunfei wanted to harm Han Qinyun, it would be a simple matter. Even though this happened during the competition between the Tiangongmen and Kikiamen, if you think about it carefully, this is actually an internal matter of the Tiangongmen and has nothing to do with Kikiamen. Speaking up to here, Shadowless looked at Lingzi and sneered. Lingzi, am I not clear enough? This is your Tiangongmen's matter, and has nothing to do with outsiders. Could it be that you want Kikiamen's people to go back with you and use them as scapegoats? After hearing Shadowless's words, Sun Qiaoer shouted, Yes, that's right. This is your Tiangong's problem. Don't blame it on our Seven Skills sect. Hearing Sun Qiaoer's shouts, Fire Spirit said angrily, Shut up! No one is asking you. Shadowless sneered, You Tiangongmen bully the weak, this is against the rules. Could it be that Kikiamen won't allow someone else to say something fair? Lingzi thought for a bit before saying, Our matter with Kikiamen, other than sect leader Han's matter, there's still the competition between us that hasn't ended yet. So, after dealing with sect leader Han's matter, we still need to continue the competition until the victor is decided. After hearing Lingzi's words, Shadowless nodded. After talking for so long, it seems your Heaven's Craftsman faction won't let Qiqiao sect off no matter what? Fire Spirit sneered, Shadowless, don't talk nonsense. This isn't a matter of letting them go or not. This competition must continue. Lingzi nodded. We Tiangongmen are a big sect and have a bit of fame in the south region. If we can't even finish the competition with Kikiamen, we'll be laughed at by the people of Jianghu. Shadowless nodded, so, you must bring Kikiamen's people back. Shadowless paused for a bit before continuing. In order to bring Kikiamen's people back, you don't care if they agree or not. If I'm not wrong, if Kikiamen's people don't agree to go back with you, you'll probably use force. Lingzi replied seriously, Yes, if Kikiaman doesn't want to go back with us, we'll find a way to make them go back with us. Shadowless shook his head. I, Shadowless, don't agree with Tiangongman on this point. So, I'll definitely stop you from doing that. Hearing Shadowless's answer, Fire Spirit sneered. With just you? Do you think you can stop all of us by yourself? Shadowless nodded. If I want to stop you, I alone will be enough. Fire Spirit suddenly roared and threw a punch at Shadowless. Shadowless, I want to see if you can do that. Shadowless sneered and took a step back. Is that so? Then I'll show you. Following Shadowless's words, a bright light rose from Shadowless's hand. In the blink of an eye, it charged towards Fire Spirit. Fire Spirit laughed. Child's play, let's see how I'll break you. As soon as the Fire Spirit finished speaking, his fist began to spin rapidly. Soon, a black ball appeared in front of him. After a while, the Fire Spirit suddenly roared and the black ball flew towards Shadowless. The black ball and Shadowless's bright light collided. Everyone felt a gust of wind blowing in front of them. The wind was so strong that it made everyone's clothes flutter. After the two of them collided, the powerful genuine chi immediately shook Shadowless back 4 or 5 steps before he could stabilize himself. At the same time, his heart was filled with shock. Chapter 462. Fire Spirit's attack succeeded, and he was about to chase again. However, Shadowless had already retreated out of his attack range. Only then did he stabilize himself. Fire Spirit saw this and sneered. Shadowless, aren't you very powerful? Why are you running? Shadowless shook his head. Why should I run? Fire Spirit said angrily. Why are you so far away from me? Shadowless immediately laughed at the sky. Fire Spirit, you're meddling too much. Do I need to ask you for permission to stand anywhere? Fire Spirit was furious when he heard what Shadowless said. He immediately jumped up and charged at Shadowless. Shadowless's Qigong was very high. He might not be as good as Fire Spirit in a head-on battle, but in terms of dodging, it was hard for Fire Spirit to catch up to him. Shadowless sneered when he saw Fire Spirit charging at him. He turned around and dodged to the side. The Fire Spirit chased after him a few times, but Shadowless easily dodged them all. The Fire Spirit was furious as he roared out in anger. Shadowless felt great when he saw how angry Fire Spirit was. Just as he was about to mock him, he suddenly felt a surge of chi coming from the side. Shadowless didn't dare to be careless. He quickly jumped up and dodged to the side again. However, as soon as he dodged, the chi chased after him like a shadow. Shadowless was shocked. He quickly stomped on the ground and jumped into the air, taking the attack. Shadowless was about to let out a sigh of relief when Fire Spirit also jumped into the air and punched at him. Shadowless was shocked when he heard the sound of Fire Spirit's fist breaking through the air. He wanted to dodge now, but it was too late. He had no choice but to take out his dagger again and block Fire Spirit's fist. Fire Spirit already expected Shadowless to block him again. He sneered when he saw the blade flash in front of him. A black ball of light shot out from his fist and hit Shadowless like lightning. Shadowless saw this and waved his dagger around to block the black ball of light. But the black ball of light and Shadowless dagger collided and immediately made a muffled sound. After the sound, the two were both sent flying back. Shadowless used the recoil force to fly far away. Seeing that her attack had missed, Shui Lingzi did not stop and suddenly leaped forward, rushing towards where Shadowless had landed. Shadowless, who was still in the air, saw Water Spirit charge over and immediately understood what she was thinking. He couldn't help but be shocked. Fire Spirit, who had just fallen to the ground, saw this and didn't dare to hesitate. He quickly stomped on the ground and chased after Shadowless like a cannonball. Seeing this, cold sweat appeared on Shadowless's forehead. He wanted to land on the ground, but Water Spirit's on the ground. Fire Water Spirit's spirit in the air. More importantly, at this moment, the Shadowless was in the air, so it was impossible for him to change direction again. He could only follow his original trajectory and fall in the direction of Xuelingzi. In this dangerous situation, Shadowless felt a chill in his heart. After thinking for a moment, Shadowless clenched his teeth and suddenly turned around. The dagger in his hand glowed brightly. At the same time, he roared. Flowing water! As Shadowless's voice fell, the light in front of him suddenly became clear. It was like a clear spring that flowed down from top to bottom. Occasionally, there would be a few waves in the clear spring water, causing ripples to appear in the clear lake water. Xuelingzi, who was about to throw out a punch, jumped in fright when she saw this. Although her martial arts were higher than Shadowless, Shadowless's skills were not to be underestimated. Even if Water Spirit used normal attacks, she wouldn't be able to block it. Water Spirit knew this and could only retreat. Because the two were too close, even if she wanted to use a skill, she wouldn't be able to. This thought only appeared in Xuelingzi's mind for a moment before she immediately reacted. Water Spirit suddenly lowered her body and threw herself to the side. While Water Spirit dodged, Shadowless's attack also arrived. The clear spring water flowed down to the place where Xuelingzi was standing. In an instant, the dust on the ground suddenly rose up, followed by a muffled sound. Then, the spring water completely flowed down to the ground, and the dust completely covered the place. Xuelingzi dodged in time and fell to the ground. She didn't even have time to get up and rolled a few times before bouncing up and standing to the side. At this moment, Shadowless used the rebound force from his skill and landed too late. Fire Spirit's attack had already arrived. Fire Spirit's black ball of light hit Shadowless's shoulder. Ah! Shadowless let out a scream and was sent flying by the power of the black ball of light. In the dust, Fire Spirit forced Shadowless back with one attack. Shadowless didn't dare to chase and quickly ran towards Water Spirit as soon as he landed on the ground. Big brother, are you okay? Water Spirit shook her head. I'm fine. Hearing Water Spirit's voice, Fire Spirit was relieved. He turned to look at the dust behind him and saw that it was still rolling in the air. After a while, the smoke and dust gradually dispersed. In the middle of the smoke and dust, the originally flat ground had become a deep crater. Looking at the hole, Fire Spirit turned to look at Shadowless and yelled, Shadowless, you're so vicious. You actually attacked so heavily. Shadowless wiped the stain from his mouth and held his shoulder that was hit. He said coldly, Fire Spirit, I don't know who's the vicious one. You two brothers teamed up to deal with him. Isn't that vicious? Fire Spirit was about to say something when Water Spirit walked up and cupped her fists. Brother Shadowless, as long as you promise not to interfere with this matter, I can swear that us brothers will never attack you again. Bah! Hearing Xuelingzi's words, Shadowless spat on the ground and sneered. Who's your Shadowless brother? Don't say such nice things. Since you've injured me today, this matter isn't over. Shadowless paused and took a deep breath before continuing. Water Spirit, I'm telling you, if you want to take away Kikiaman's people today, it's impossible. As long as I'm here, don't even think about it. Seeing that Shadowless was injured and was still spouting nonsense, Fire Spirit became angry and wanted to rush up again. However, Water Spirit quickly pulled him back and gave him a look before turning to Shadowless and speaking in an apologetic tone. Brother Shadowless, there was a misunderstanding just now. We shouldn't have fought, but because of a small argument, we really started fighting. Chapter 463. Xuelingzi continued, Brother Shadowless, I won't hide it from you. I must bring the Kikiaman people back today. Otherwise, I won't be able to go back and report. Speaking of this, Xuelingzi cupped her fists at Shadowless. Brother Shadowless, please don't worry about this anymore. When this is over, I will find a way to repay Brother Shadowless. Hearing Xuelingzi's words, Shadowless sneered, Repay? How are you going to repay me? Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before smiling. From now on, Brother Shadowless is our Tiangongman's best friend. If you need us Tiangongmen in the future, please don't hesitate to ask. We Tiangongmen will do our best to help Brother Shadowless. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless suddenly sneered. After a while, he slowly said, Shui Lingzi, do you think that because I'm injured, I don't have any capital left? So you're trying to brush me off? Shui Lingzi heard this and quickly waved her hand. Brother Shadowless, what are you saying? We Tiangongmen are very sincere. Shadowless shook his head. Sincere? How come I don't see any sincerity from you Tiangongmen? Speaking of this, Shadowless sneered. Shui Lingzi, you should use a more sincere method. If it's just this, I won't be able to accept it. Hearing this, Fire Spirit suddenly yelled, Shadowless brat, if it wasn't for something important today, I would have beaten you up until you scream. You wouldn't be able to talk nonsense here. Shadowless looked at Fire Spirit with contempt and sneered. Fire Spirit, who doesn't know how to talk big? Let me tell you, if you want to catch up to me by yourself, you'll have to wait until your next life. Fire Spirit angrily stepped forward. Shadowless brat, you don't accept this? Shadowless shook his head. You can't even touch my smoke by yourself, why should I accept this? As a consecrated of the Tiangongmen, when had he ever been looked down upon like this? Fire Spirit clenched his fists and was about to charge forward again. Shui Lingzi saw this and could only sigh. She pulled Fire Spirit back and turned to Shadowless with a smile. Brother Shadowless, we Tiangongmen have no grievances with you. Why are you forcing us to do this? Please tell us what is the reason? Hearing this, Shadowless shook his head. It's nothing, I just see that you Tiangongmen are in the wrong and feel uncomfortable. That's why I want to get involved in this matter. Shui Lingzi sighed. Shadowless, I've already made it clear that we have A's disappearance, sex, Shadowless. So we must bring the Qiao's people back. So we'll bring SSS. Speaking to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a bit before continuing. Brother Shadowless, are you going to get involved in our sex business as well? Shadowless shook his head. If it's just your Tiangongmen's business, then I naturally wouldn't get involved. But you're venting your anger on Kikiaman for no reason, of course I have to get involved. Shui Lingzi heard this and slowly said, Brother Shadowless, aren't you just trying to get involved in our Tiangongmen's business? Shadowless shook his head again. I definitely won't get involved in your Tiangongmen's business, but you're bullying Kikiaman, I really can't stand it. Seeing that Shadowless wasn't backing down, Shui Lingzi turned to Sun Qiaoer and sighed. Sect Leader Sun, I'm only looking for you because of Sect Leader Han's matter, there's nothing else. I think you should come back with me. Although Shui Lingzi's words were gentle, Sun Qiaoer still subconsciously took a step back and loudly said, I'm not going, I've already explained everything to you. Why would I go to the Tiangongmen? Shui Lingzi pointed at Shadowless and sighed. Sect Leader Sun, what do you think of Shadowless? Hearing Shui Lingzi's question, Sun Qiaoer nodded. Very good. Shui Lingzi sighed again. But because your Kikiaman won't come back with us, such a good person will probably die here today. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Sun Qiaoer was shocked and quickly asked, what do you want? Seeing that Sun Qiaoer was moved, Shui Lingzi was secretly happy and quickly continued, Shadowless has already been heavily injured by us for your Kikiaman, but he still wants to stand up for your Kikiaman. This kind of person can be considered a favor to your Kikiaman. Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi turned to look at Sun Qiaoer and faintly smiled. Sect Master Sun, my words shouldn't be wrong, right? Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Sun Qiaoer subconsciously looked at Shadowless and nodded. Of course, as long as you've helped our Kikiaman, you're our Kikiaman's friend. Seeing that Sun Qiaoer agreed with her words, Shui Lingzi was even more happy and quickly said again. Sect Leader Sun, could it be that you want to see your friend die here? Sun Qiaoer shook her head. I don't want to. Shui Lingzi sighed. sect leader son, although you don't want to, but if you don't come back with us, your Kikyaman's friend will be hung here by us. Do you want to see this scene? Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Sun Qiao angrily said, Shui Lingzi, Shadowless only said a few words of justice, do you want to make a move on him? Shui Lingzi sighed. Our mission this time is to bring you back and investigate sect leader Han's whereabouts. Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before continuing, however, if someone tries to stop us, we will not show any mercy. Shui Lingzi pointed at Shadowless and turned to Sun Qiao and said word by word. Shadowless overestimated himself, thinking that he can stop us. Sect leader son, you also saw it, if we didn't hold back, Shadowless would have already been hung here. Sect leader son, if you don't leave with us, then we'll make a move on Wu Yong. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Sun Qiao was stunned. She didn't think that a dignified Tiangongman would say such shameless words. But how should she answer him? Going back to the Tiangongman with him was absolutely impossible. Sun Qiao was sure that if she really went back to the Tiangongman with Shui Lingzi, she wouldn't be able to come out for the rest of her life. But if she rejected Shui Lingzi, then wouldn't that make Shadowless heart cold? No matter what, Shadowless had been helping them, so she couldn't refuse. While Sun Qiao was hesitating, Shadowless suddenly laughed and said loudly, Don't worry, Sun Qiao, I'm going to kill you. Shui Lingzi, you're really capable, in order to bring Kikyaman's people back. Chapter 464. Shadowless said loudly, Shui Lingzi, you're too shameless. In order to bring Kikyaman's people back, you're willing to do anything. Shui Lingzi didn't answer Shadowless and only coldly looked at Sun Qiao and asked, Sect leader son, Shadowless' life is in your hands. If you agree to go back with us, Shadowless will be fine. If you don't, then I can only kill him. Speaking to here, Shui Lingzi paused for a bit before continuing, Sect leader son, if it comes to that, then it's all your fault. Think about it, if someone dies for Kikyaman, I'm afraid you won't feel good about it. Rather than that, why don't you come back with us? I, Shui Lingzi, promise you that as long as you agree to go back with us to the Tiangongman, no one will dare to hurt you. After the matter is investigated, I will also promise to let you go. That should be fine, right? Shadowless still didn't wait for Sun Qiao to reply and spoke first. Sect leader son, don't listen to his nonsense. With just the two of them, they want to deal with me? That's a fool's dream. Fire Spirit heard this and fiercely glared at Shadowless. Shadowless brat, do you think we can't deal with you? Shadowless shook his head. Although your martial arts are higher than mine, if I don't fight with you, do you have the confidence to catch up to me? Fire Spirit sneered. Do you want to try? Shadowless laughed. Even if I say yes, you can't catch up to me. Water Spirit reached out to stop Fire Spirit, then turned to Sun Qiao and asked, Sect Master Sun, what do you think? Should we give it a try? Hearing Shui Lingzi's question, Sun Qiao shook her head. Shui Lingzi saw this and said in a deep voice, Since you don't want Shadowless to try, does that mean you agree to go back with us? Sun Qiao heard this and shook her head. I don't agree. Seeing that Sun Qiao didn't agree no matter what, Shui Lingzi was furious. The 7 possibilities sex people didn't have high martial arts, so Shui Lingzi believed that even if he used a single finger, he would be able to beat them down. However, with so many forces watching from the side, he really couldn't do that. Although he used 2 pieces of level 20 equipment to bribe the Wu clan and get rid of this big enemy, Shadowless and the Godly Sword Gate weren't that easy to deal with. Although Shadowless was injured, if he joined forces with the people from the Godly Sword sect, it wouldn't be easy for him to bring the people from the 7 possibilities sect back safely. Although the martial arts of the people from the Godly Saber School were not very high, they had a large number of people, which could be considered a force. More importantly, whether it was Shadowless or the people from the Godly Sword Gate, Shui Lingzi couldn't really kill them. No matter if Shadowless or the Godly Knife School's men were killed, they would certainly bring a powerful enemy to the Heaven's Craftsman School. Needless to say, the faction behind Shadowless was strong without a doubt. The Godly Sword Gates people couldn't be underestimated either. Even if you used your toes to think, you wouldn't want to offend a martial arts sect that dominated a region. It was because of this that Shui Lingzi kept enduring and wanted to solve this problem peacefully. Seeing that Shadowless wasn't willing to settle this peacefully, Shui Lingzi could only look for another way. If Kikiaman's people took the initiative to go back with the Tiangongmen, then no one else could do anything about it. Seeing Shui Lingzi trying to flatter Sun Qiaoer, Shadowless naturally wouldn't agree. His goal this time was the same as everyone else's: Kikiaman's secret. If he could get his hands on Kikiaman's secret, then it would bring endless benefits. Shadowless came with this goal in mind. He also wanted to take away Kikiaman's people. He also wanted to get his hands on Kikiaman's secret. Shadowless looked at Shui Lingzi and suddenly shouted, "Shui Lingzi, do you really think you can beat me with just the two of you?" Shui Lingzi was already pissed off by Sun Qiaoer. After hearing Shadowless' provocation, her face turned green. Shui Lingzi fiercely glared at Sun Qiaoer before abruptly turning to look at Shadowless in the distance and sternly shouting, "Shadowless, I'll ask you one more time, do you agree to my conditions or not?" Shadowless sneered and shook his head. "Impossible, as long as you bully Kikiaman, I will never agree." Shui Lingzi heard this and sneered. "Shadowless, you asked for it, don't blame me for being cruel." After saying this, Water Spirit turned to Fire Spirit and gave him a meaningful look. Fire Spirit immediately nodded in understanding. Shui Lingzi and Fire Spirit slowly walked towards Shadowless. When he saw the two walk over, Shadowless started to get nervous. Although the Water Spirit and Fire Spirit were not walking fast, they were walking steadily. Almost every step was on solid ground. After making sure that there was no danger, they would take the second step. Not only that, with every step they took, their aura kept rising and their qi kept flowing through their body. The two of them had only taken 3 or 4 steps when Wan Yi's surging Zhen Qi swelled up. Through the gaps in their clothes, the scattered Zhen Qi continued to shoot out. Feeling the two's aura getting stronger and stronger, sweat started to appear on Shadowless' forehead. Even his palms started to get wet. Shadowless wiped his hand that was holding the dagger on his body, wiping away the sweat on his palm. Then, he held the dagger tightly and stared at Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Seeing that there were only 4 or 5 steps between them, Shui Lingzi suddenly stopped, looked up at Shadowless, and asked in a deep voice, "Brother Shadowless, I already said that I will bring back Kikiaman's people. I hope you won't stop us." Shadowless forced a smile and shook his head. "Shui Lingzi, that's impossible. You Tiangongmen are bullying the weak. I can't just ignore it." Hearing Shadowless's answer, Water Spirit nodded and said in a deep voice, "If that's the case, then don't blame us for being impolite." Seeing that Shui Lingzi was about to attack, Shadowless suddenly shouted, "Shui Lingzi, you think you can bully me just because you have more people?" Hearing this, Shui Lingzi was stunned for a moment as a bad feeling rose in her heart. Shadowless saw this and suddenly laughed. After laughing, he took out a whistling arrow and sneered, "Shui Lingzi, you really think I'm the only one here?" Hearing this, Shui Lingzi looked around suspiciously before asking in a deep voice, "Shadowless, what do you want?" Shadowless sneered and raised the whistling arrow in his hand and said loudly, "Shui Lingzi, as long as I throw this arrow into the sky, our people will immediately appear." Shadowless paused and stared at Shui Lingzi and said coldly, "Shui Lingzi, do you want me to throw this arrow into the sky?" Chapter 465. Seeing the whistling arrow in Shadowless' hand, Shui Lingzi couldn't help but stop. "Shadowless, what do you want?" Shadowless smiled, "I don't want to do anything." Shadowless paused for a moment before continuing. Shui Lingzi, I want to ask you, what do you two want by coming here in such an imposing manner? Looking at the whistling arrow in Shadowless' hand, Shui Lingzi sighed. Brother Shadowless, you know what I mean. As long as you promise to stay out of this, we can still be good friends. Shadowless shook his head. Impossible. This time, before Shui Lingzi could speak, Fire Spirit suddenly shouted, Shadowless brat, don't use a whistling arrow to scare us, throw it if you dare. Hearing Fire Spirit shout, Shadowless turned to Shui Lingzi and sneered, Shui Lingzi, you really want me to throw it? Shui Lingzi gritted her teeth. Brother Shadowless, this time, whether you throw it or not, we will definitely take away Kikiaman's people. After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless sneered a few times and suddenly flicked his wrist, sending the whistling arrow flying towards the sky. Not long after the whistling arrow left his hand, a flame ignited on the whistling arrow. Under the flame's push, the whistling arrow made a sharp sound as it flew into the sky. After flying to a certain height, the whistling arrow suddenly exploded, creating a red halo in the sky that didn't dissipate for a long time. Shui Lingzi's face couldn't help but change when she saw the red halo. This whistling arrow flew so high that even people who were far away could see the red circle of light created by the whistling arrow. Thinking of this, Shui Lingzi couldn't help but look into the distance, wanting to see who was coming. As for attacking Shadowless right now, Shui Lingzi really didn't think about it. If she hurt Shadowless and the person who came was too strong, wouldn't that be terrible? Shui Lingzi didn't have to wait for long before a figure shot over from the distance. Although the two didn't get close, Shui Lingzi's face already changed. The person's speed was extremely fast. In just a few leaps, a beggar-like person already arrived in front of everyone. The old beggar came to the front of the crowd and stretched. Then he turned to look at Shadowless and said lazily, Shadowless, what happened? You disturbed this old beggar's sleep. Shadowless cupped his fists and said, Master, these two are Tiangongmen Shui Lingzi and Fire Spirit, they have something to ask Master. The old beggar turned his head to look at Shui Ling, first picking his ear, then lightly asking, Shui Ling, what business do you have with the old beggar? Shui Lingzi's eyes narrowed and asked in shock, Senior, could it be Du Wu Bag? The old beggar smiled, I didn't think there would be someone who knows me. Hearing Du Wu Bao's confirmation, Water Spirit cupped her fists and said, So it was Senior Du, I've been disrespectful. Du Wu Bao ignored Shui Lingzi and turned to look at Shadowless, So why are you looking for me? Hearing this, Shadowless looked at Shui Lingzi and sneered, Shui Lingzi, by the way, why are you looking for my master? Hearing Shadowless's question, Shui Lingzi's expression changed. After a while, she forced a smile and said, Nothing, Junior was just discussing something with Brother Shadowless. Du Wu Bag shook his head and looked around. His eyes suddenly lit up and he waved his hand at Shadowless. Take your time, I'll go talk to an old friend. In the time it took for him to speak, Du Wu Dai did not seem to exert much strength in his feet, but he suddenly rushed in front of Wu Lai. Wu Lai, I didn't think you'd come today. Du Wu Bag suddenly laughed and pointed at Wu Lai. You old man, didn't you say you were going into seclusion to cultivate? Why did you suddenly come out? After hearing Du Wuho's words, Wu Lai suddenly sneered. Du Wuho, you old man, I thought you were long gone. I didn't expect you to still be alive. How strange. Du Wu Bag sat down next to Wu Lai and said loudly to Wu Kudi, This old beggar loves to drink. You go get some wine. Seeing Du Wu Bag daring to order him, Wu Kudi was furious and was about to retort when Wu Lai said, Go, what are you standing there for? Hearing this, Wu Kudi was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly left. Looking at Wu Kudi's back, Du Wu Bao smiled and said, Your nephew doesn't seem to be very obedient. Wu Lai sneered and pointed at Shadowless, Your disciple doesn't seem to be very obedient either. Shui Lingzi looked at Shadowless. Her aura had already disappeared without a trace. She naturally knew what kind of person Du Wu Bag was. If she dared to use that aura in front of Du Wu Bag, she would definitely be beaten up. After a while, Shui Lingzi sighed, "Shadowless, since you've already asked your master to come out, then I don't think you have a choice. What do you want?" Shadowless shook his head. "Shui Lingzi, don't ask me what I want. You should ask yourself what you want." Hearing this, Shui Lingzi was stunned and asked in confusion, "Brother Shadowless, could it be that you don't know what I want to do?" Shadowless sneered, "Shui Lingzi, I understand. You want to take away Kikiaman's people today, but you're bullying the weak. I can't stand it. What do you think we should do?" Looking at the sneering Shadowless, Shui Lingzi sighed, "Brother Shadowless, are you satisfied with a level 20 equipment?" Hearing Water Spirit's words, Shadowless shook his head, "Not satisfied, very dissatisfied." Fire Spirit said angrily, "Shadowless brat, do you think level 20 equipment is cabbage? Those are top-tier equipment. Giving you one today is already a great deal for you. What's there to be dissatisfied about?" Hearing Fire Spirit's words, Shadowless shook his head and turned to look at Du Wudai and Wu Lai. Then, he sneered. "Shui Lingzi, do you think my master's martial arts are lower than Wu Lai's?" After hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi silently shook her head. Du Wubao and Wu Lai were of the same generation. In terms of martial arts, although the two of them had never officially competed, but based on their reputations, there should be not much difference between them. Seeing Shui Lingzi nod, Shadowless sneered, "Since my master's martial arts aren't lower than Wu Lai's, then why did we get less equipment than the Wu clan?" Hearing Shadowless words, Shui Lingzi could only sigh in her heart. If she knew this would happen, she definitely wouldn't have agreed to give the Wu clan 2 level 20 equipment. At that time, it was only a temporary measure, so he reluctantly agreed. Chapter 466. In order to get rid of the Wu family, Water Spirit offered those conditions. Water Spirit thought that this matter was over, but she never thought that this was just the beginning. Water Spirit gave the Wu family 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. It was because of the Wu family's strength that Water Spirit gave such high conditions. However, Shadowless was also strong now, so he was asking for 2 level 20 equipment. Water Spirit thought for a moment before letting out a sigh. She cupped her fist towards Shadowless and said, "Brother Shadowless, isn't 2 pieces of level 20 equipment a bit too much? Can we discuss and give you 1 piece of level 20 equipment and 2 pieces of level 15 equipment?" Shadowless shook his head. "Our strength is about the same as the Wu family, so why are we getting so much less?" Shadowless paused for a bit before continuing with a cold smile. "If others find out that you gave the Wu clan 2 pieces of level 20 equipment and only gave us 1 piece of level 20 equipment, wouldn't we lose a lot of face?" Shui Lingzi sighed. She knew that Shadowless was right. Face was very important in the Jianghu. Even if you had to starve for 3 days, you wouldn't want to lose face. "Brother Shadowless, I'm sure you know that crafting level 20 equipment isn't an easy task. How about this? I'll give you a level 20 equipment first, and then I'll give you a level 20 equipment with both hands in the future." Hearing Water Spirit's suggestion, Shadowless nodded and slowly said, "Sure, but those 2 level 15 equipment will have to be our interest." Fire Spirit couldn't take it any more and roared, "Shadowless brat, what do you think level 15 equipment is? Do you think it fell from the sky?" Shadowless shook his head. "I don't care where it came from. I just want to know. Since I promised you guys to delay the delivery of another level 20 equipment for a year, you guys have to promise me that you'll pay me the interest within that year." "Nonsense." Hearing this, the Fire Spirit could no longer hold it in. He stomped on the ground and shot towards Shadowless like a cannonball. At this time, a black light flashed in the distance and an object shot towards Fire Spirit like lightning. Water Spirit saw that the situation was bad and quickly yelled, "Watch out, hidden weapons!" When Water Spirit shouted, Fire Spirit also felt that something was wrong. He forcefully stopped himself from charging forward and dodged, but it was already too late. The item brushed past his left arm. Seeing this, Water Spirit quickly went up to support Fire Spirit and asked with concern, "How are you?" Fire Spirit Z frowned as his right hand tightly held his left arm. After a while, he slowly let go. Water Spirit Z saw that his left arm had been injured by that object. Shui Lingzi was about to ask again when Du Wubao, who was talking to Wu Lai by the bonfire, suddenly said in a cold voice, "This old beggar hates sneak attacks the most. This time I'm teaching you a lesson, but if there's a next time..." After hearing Du Wudai's words, Fire Spirit Z was about to angrily rebuke him, but he was quickly stopped by Water Spirit Z. "Senior, this junior's brother has a bad temper, please don't blame him." Humph. Du Wudai didn't answer Water Spirit Z's words and only coldly snorted as a reply. Seeing Du Wudai's arrogant appearance, even though Water Spirit was angry, she knew that if they dared to attack again, it wouldn't just be her shoulder that was injured. Thinking about this, Water Spirit Z suddenly turned to Shadowless and bitterly smiled. "Brother Shadowless, you win. I promise to give you 2 level 20 equipment, is that okay?" Hearing Water Spirit Z's words, Shadowless nodded with satisfaction and coldly smiled. "Water Spirit, I know that even for the Heaven's Craftsman Gate, it's not easy to forge a piece of level 20 equipment, so..." Hearing this, Water Spirit Z was ecstatic and quickly asked, "Brother Shadowless, are you willing to give me 1 less level 20 equipment?" Shadowless shook his head. "No, it's not easy for Tiangongmen to forge a level 20 equipment. I'm afraid that you guys will go back on your words, so we should make a contract to prevent you Tiangongmen from playing us." After hearing Shadowless's words, Water Spirit Z's body trembled. He had thought that Shadowless would take the initiative to reduce a piece of level 20 equipment for the sake of the Heaven's Craftsman faction. Little did he expect that Shadowless would be such a nice person. Not only did he not reduce the equipment by level 20, he even wanted to add insult to injury and prevent any changes in the Heaven's Craftsman faction. Water Spirit Z was angry, but there was nothing she could do. She could only bitterly smile and say, "Brother Shadowless, I think we should forget about the contract. We Tiangongmen have some reputation in the South County. How could we go back on our words? Don't worry, as long as this matter is resolved, I will definitely send someone to deliver the equipment." Shadowless shook his head. "You just said that even for Tiangongmen, it's not easy to forge so many level 20 equipment. I'm worried that if you Tiangongmen really can't forge so many level 20 equipment, then you'll go back on your words." To be honest, Water Spirit Z really did have this plan. Everyone had made a verbal agreement, and there was no real evidence. If the Tiangongmen really couldn't forge so many level 20 equipment, then even if they went back on their words, no one would be able to prove it. The Tiangongmen would go back on their words. Water Spirit Z sighed. "Brother Shadowless, don't you even trust me?" Shadowless sighed. "I used to believe you. A Heaven's Craftsman Gate's consecrator would keep his word. However, what you did just now really disappointed me." Shadowless suddenly took a step forward and sneered at Water Spirit Z. "Water Spirit, let me ask you, if my master didn't appear, would you still agree to give me the equipment?" Hearing Shadowless' question, Water Spirit Z's face turned red. Before Shadowless' master appeared, he didn't want to give Shadowless a single piece of equipment. Otherwise, he wouldn't have attacked Shadowless. Du Wudai's martial arts were just too high. Even if he and Fire Spirit Z worked together, it would still be hard to stop him. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. In order to achieve her goal of bringing Kikiaman back, Water Spirit Z agreed to give Shadowless 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. If Du Wudai didn't come, then Water Spirit Z wouldn't have given Shadowless a single piece of equipment. Seeing that Water Spirit Z didn't speak, Shadowless sneered again. "Water Spirit, I didn't misjudge you, right? If my master didn't come, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to get a single piece of equipment. Shadowless paused for a bit before continuing. Water Spirit, you say it yourself. After so many things, do you still think you're worthy of my trust? Chapter 467. After hearing Shadowless' words, Water Spirit shook her head with a bitter smile. The reason why I didn't agree to Brother Shadowless' conditions was because it's really hard for Tiangongmen to make so many level 20 equipment. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to fulfill Brother Shadowless' conditions. That's why I didn't agree to your conditions. Shadowless sighed. Water Spirit, you said it yourself. Even for Tiangongmen, it's not easy to make so many level 20 equipment. For my equipment, why wouldn't I be more careful? I think it's better to sign a contract first. That way you Tiangongmen won't go back on your word. Water Spirit heard this and lowered her head to think. Fire Spirit suddenly said angrily, Shadowless brat, when have we Tiangongmen ever gone back on our word? Shadowless shook his head. I don't know, but I'm a very careful person. Only by signing a contract can I be completely at ease. Fire Spirit yelled, Shadowless brat, what if we don't sign a contract? Hearing Fire Spirit's words, Shadowless's face suddenly turned cold. He turned to look in the direction of the 7 Possibilities sect and said indifferently, Then don't even think about taking the people of the 7 Possibilities sect away. You dare. Fire Spirit stepped forward and said angrily, Shadowless brat, you really think that you can do whatever you want just because your master is here? Let me tell you, you're dreaming. We Tiangongmen aren't pushovers. If you really want to become enemies with us Tiangongmen, then we Tiangongmen will accompany you to the end. Shadowless shook his head. You can't blame us for this. It's your Heaven's Craftsman faction that went too far. I merely helped out when I saw injustice. Even if outsiders know about this, they'll praise me for being loyal. Shadowless paused and then continued. On the other hand, once the people in Jianghu know that the dignified Heaven's Craftsman sect has done such a shameless thing, I'm afraid your Heaven's Craftsman sect won't have a good ending. Water Spirit suddenly raised her head and pushed Fire Spirit aside. She looked at Shadowless and sighed. Brother Shadowless, I can promise to give you the equipment. I think we should forget about the contract. Shadowless shook his head and refused. No, if there's no contract, then we'll be wasting our time. Water Spirit nodded and walked up to Shadowless's side. She lowered her voice and whispered to Shadowless. Brother Shadowless, can we talk a bit further? Shadowless looked at Water Spirit and asked coldly, Water Spirit, what do you want to do? Water Spirit shook her head. Shadowless, Brother Shadowless, I just want to talk to you for a bit. Shadowless looked at Shui Lingzi and frowned for a moment before nodding. Shadowless Masterses, Shadowless's his master's masters. Water Spirit nodded. Of course I know. Don't worry, I really just want to talk to you for a bit. Shadowless saw that Shui Lingzi didn't seem to be lying, so he nodded and let the others lean together. Water Spirit said in a low voice, Brother Shadowless, I can promise you the equipment, and I can also promise you the contract, but you must promise me one thing before I can promise you the contract. Shadowless nodded. Okay, tell me your condition. Seeing Shadowless agree, Shui Lingzi said in a low voice. Brother Shadowless, you also know that even though the Heaven's Craftsman faction is wealthy, it's not easy to forge so many pieces of level 20 equipment at once. So I want to write a contract with Brother Shadowless and not let the Wu family know. Can you agree to this condition? Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless was stunned for a moment before laughing in his heart, feeling that he had made the right choice. If he guessed correctly, when Water Spirit said this, she didn't want to give the Wu family any more equipment. Thinking of this, Shadowless rejoiced in his heart. Luckily, he was careful. Otherwise, today's effort would have been in vain. However, whether or not the Tiangongmen gave the Wu family equipment didn't matter to Shadowless. As long as he got his own equipment, that was more important than anything else. Shadowless nodded. Okay, I promise you. Shadowless paused for a moment, then looked around and asked in confusion, What's the matter? There are so many people here, how can we write a contract? Water Spirit smiled and whispered, Brother Shadowless, once this matter is over and the Wu family leaves, I'll write a contract for Brother Shadowless. What do you think? Shadowless couldn't help but frown. He carefully thought about Water Spirit's words to prevent himself from being tricked. After a while, Shadowless sneered, Good, Water Spirit, you dare to trick me. Seeing that her plan had been seen through by Shadowless, Shui Lingzi was startled. She forced a smile and said, Brother Shadowless, where did this come from? You also know that it's very difficult for the Heaven's Craftsman Gate to take out so many pieces of equipment at once. However, I'm very sincere to Brother Shadowless, so I agreed to sign a contract with you. Shadowless sneered, Shui Lingzi, do you think I'm a 3-year-old child that you can deceive? Water Spirit quickly said, Brother Shadowless, that's not right. Why would I trick Brother Shadowless? As long as this matter is over, I'll definitely write a contract for the 2 equipment. Is there something wrong with that? Shadowless suddenly patted Water Spirit's shoulder. Water Spirit, I trusted you so much, but even now, you still want to trick me. This really disappoints me. Water Spirit shook her head. Brother Shadowless, I'm definitely not lying to you. Shadowless sneered. According to what you said, after this matter is over, you'll write a contract with me. But what if after this matter is over and you don't write one? What should I do? Shadowless paused here. He didn't wait for Water Spirit to speak and continued. Water Spirit, when this matter is over, even if I want to stop you, I'm afraid it's impossible. Even if you don't write a contract, what can I do to you? Water Spirit quickly waved her hand. Impossible, I definitely won't do such a thing. Brother Shadowless, as soon as this matter is over, I'll write a contract for Brother Shadowless. Shadowless looked at Water Spirit and after a while, he suddenly said, Water Spirit, I suddenly find that my trust in you is getting lower and lower. Hearing this, Water Spirit sighed, Brother Shadowless, what should I do to make you believe my sincerity? Shadowless heard this and shook his head. Chapter 468. Shadowless sighed, Shui Lingzi, I can only trust you if you sign a contract. Shui Lingzi smiled, Sure, but I've already said that I'll write a contract for Brother Shadowless so that Brother Shadowless can rest assured. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless sneered, Shui Lingzi, you're not letting me rest assured by doing this. Saying this, Shadowless sighed, What if you don't give me a contract after we're done? What should I do? Shui Lingzi hurriedly waved her hand. That won't happen. Us Tiangongmen always keep our word, we'll definitely do it. Shadowless sighed, Although I believe that Tiangongmen always keep their word, I don't really believe your words. After hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi also sighed, Brother Shadowless, to be honest, I don't really believe you either. If I write a contract in advance and you don't keep it, then wouldn't I have given up 2 level 20 equipment for nothing? Shadowless shook his head. Shui Lingzi, don't worry, I, Shadowless, am also a man of my word. After saying this, the two looked at each other, and after a while, they both shook their heads. Shui Lingzi sighed. Brother Shadowless, if I lie to you, then you won't lose anything, but if you lie to me, then I'll lose 2 level 20 equipment. No matter how you look at it, us Tiangongmen will lose out. Shadowless shook his head. You're wrong, I definitely won't lie to you. If you write a contract now, then I definitely won't care about your business. At this point, Shadowless sighed and turned to look at Water Spirit with a sneer. But you're different. Level 20 equipment is indeed difficult to make. If the Heaven's Craftsman Gate can't make that many level 20 equipment, then we can only deny it. That's why you Tiangongmen have the biggest chance of denying it. Shui Lingzi shook her head. Brother Shadowless, you can't say that. Even if level 20 equipment is hard to make, it's not impossible for us Tiangongmen to make them. As long as Brother Shadowless keeps his promise, I guarantee that you'll get 2 level 20 equipment. After hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless suddenly turned to Wu Kadi and said, "Since your Heaven's Craftsman faction can forge so many pieces of equipment, why don't you write down our and Wu family's contracts at the same time so that our 2 families can rest assured?" Hearing Shadowless's question, Water Spirit paused for a moment before letting out a sigh. "Brother Shadowless, I won't hide it from you. Level 20 equipment is indeed very difficult to forge. Even if I can forge this many pieces of level 20 equipment, it will still take a long time. So, I want to make a promise with Brother Shadowless. When this matter is over, I'll give Brother Shadowless 2 pieces of level 20 equipment." Speaking up to here, Water Spirit paused for a moment before continuing. "After the Shadowless brothers' equipment is paid, the Wu family's equipment might be given to them later. After all, it takes a certain amount of time to forge equipment." Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless suddenly sneered. He turned to Shui Lingzi and said word by word, "Shui Lingzi, I think you don't want to give the Wu family equipment, so you're playing this trick." Hearing this, Shui Lingzi's expression changed, and she quickly shook her head. "Brother Shadowless, what are you talking about? Since we promised the Wu clan's equipment, how can the Heaven's Craftsman faction go back on their word? It's just that making equipment takes time, so we'll give them the equipment later. It's not like we won't give it to them." Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless shook his head and sneered. "Shui Lingzi, don't lie to me. You want to make a separate contract with me. It's clear that you don't want to give the Wu family equipment. Do you really think I can't see that?" Seeing Shadowless's bright eyes, Shui Lingzi suddenly sighed and said in a low voice, "Brother Shadowless, since you can see through it, then I won't hide it from you. The Tiangongmen don't have much materials left, so it's not easy to make so many high-level equipment. I'm also worried that the Tiangongmen don't have enough materials to make so many high-level equipment, so I want to go back and take a look before making a decision." Shadowless sneered. "If my guess is right and your Heaven's Craftsman faction doesn't have enough high-level materials to forge so many level 20 equipment, what will you do? Are you going to give up on the 2 pieces of level 20 equipment from the Wu clan?" Hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi paused for a moment before waving her hand. "Brother Shadowless, that's impossible. I'm just worried. I think that with the Tiangongmen's storage, they can definitely make so many equipment. Brother Shadowless, you can rest assured." Shadowless suddenly sneered and asked, "I'm saying, if the Tiangongmen can't make so many high-level equipment, then what will you do?" Being chased by Shadowless, Shui Lingzi's forehead was covered in cold sweat. She quickly waved her hand. "Impossible, that's impossible. Brother Shadowless, you don't have to worry." Shadowless shook his head and asked again, "I'm saying, if you really can't make so many level 20 equipment, then what will you do?" Seeing that Shadowless wanted to know the answer, Shui Lingzi thought for a moment before replying with a smile. "If the Tiangongmen can't make so many equipment, then we'll compensate the Wu family for their loss. We can't let the Wu family suffer a loss." Shadowless suddenly sneered. "Compensate? How? Using 2 level 10 equipment for 1 level 20 equipment, is that how it should be compensated?" Water Spirit hurriedly waved her hand. "How could that be? At the very least, you would need 2 pieces of level 15 equipment to replace a level 21. Shadowless nodded and suddenly asked, "Then did you ask the Wu family before doing this?" Seeing that Shadowless kept asking about the Wu family, Shui Lingzi was a bit annoyed. "Brother Shadowless, the Tiangongmen will naturally take care of the Wu family's matter. I'll pay for your 2 level 20 equipment as soon as possible. As for the rest, the Tiangongmen will naturally have a way to take care of it." Shadowless shook his head. "What way? If the Tiangongmen can't make so many equipment, then they'll definitely go back on their word." Shui Lingzi was really angry. Brother Shadowless, what do you want? I've already agreed to your conditions, are you still not satisfied? Shadowless shook his head. Shui Lingzi, you said you've already agreed to my conditions, but what conditions did you agree to? Have you written the contract yet? Chapter 469. Water Spirit said angrily, Brother Shadowless, didn't I already promise you that after this matter is settled, I will write a contract for you? Shadowless shook his head and sneered. I don't agree. We must write it now, otherwise our conditions will be voided. Shui Lingzi stared at Shadowless, panting heavily. After a while, she suddenly said, in front of everyone, if I were to write a contract with you, wouldn't everyone be able to see it? At that time, they will all come looking for me to write a contract. What should I do then? Shadowless shook his head. I don't care about this matter, but my contract must be written now. Otherwise, our conditions will be voided. Water Spirit heard this and took a deep breath to calm her anger. Then she said softly, I already said that it's not that we Tiangongmen can't immediately take out the equipment, but that time doesn't allow for it. Creating so many level 20 equipment is definitely not something that can be completed in a short period of time. Therefore, the equipment that we give to you must be given in a sequence. If I write a contract with Brother Shadowless, once they find out, they will definitely pester me to write one for them. Not only that, they will also demand to receive the equipment as soon as possible. This is something that Tiangongmen can't do. Therefore, we can only stall for time to ease the pressure on the Tiangongmen. Brother Shadowless, can't you understand this? Hearing Water Spirit's words, Shadowless suddenly sighed. Water Spirit, you're right. Everyone wants to get the equipment as soon as possible, but if you lie to us, then we will be happy for nothing. Water Spirit shook her head. That won't happen. I already said that because of the manufacturing process, we can't immediately take out all the equipment. We must have a sequence. No matter if it's sooner or later, I can guarantee that everyone's equipment will be delivered to their hands. Shadowless sighed. Water Spirit, I can understand what you're saying, but what if you really don't give us the equipment? What can we do? Water Spirit said seriously, Brother Shadowless, could it be that you don't even trust the Tiangongmen? Shadowless shook his head. It's not that I don't trust the Tiangongmen, but I don't trust you. Speaking up to here, Shadowless turned to look at Water Spirit and said with a smile, Water Spirit, I also know that even if a level 20 equipment appears, there will be a lot of people fighting to buy it. I believe that everyone understands the value of level 20 equipment. I also know that even the Tiangongmen don't make more than 2 level 20 equipment every year. Shadowless paused for a moment, then suddenly sneered. Water Spirit, level 20 equipment is so precious, but you took out so many today. I'm worried that you won't be able to handle it when you go back, right? After hearing Shadowless's words, Shui Lingzi sighed in her heart. Shadowless was right. Level 20 equipment was not like cabbages that could be taken out at any time. With the wealth of the Tiangongmen, they can only make 2 to 3 level 20 equipment every year. It was easy to imagine how precious level 20 equipment was, but Shadowless agreed to give out so many level 20 equipment today. Water Spirit had a headache just thinking about it. The Tiangongmen didn't belong to his family. Even if he agreed to give out so many level 20 equipment, would the others agree? If the other Tiangongmen didn't agree and only Water Spirit agreed, it would be useless. So Water Spirit's attitude right now was to take one step at a time and deal with the crisis in front of them first. No matter what, bringing Kikyaman's people back was the most important thing. If Kikyaman could easily make level 20 equipment, then the equipment promised to everyone would be easily completed. But if Kikyaman's secret was fake, then Water Spirit could only take the blame and go into hiding. As for the equipment, if Water Spirit went into hiding, then the equipment didn't count. But if there was a contract, and Water Spirit wrote it on behalf of the Tiangongman, then even if he went into hiding, the Wu family and Shadowless could find the Tiangongman with the contract. If the Tiangongman wanted to stay in the South region, then they would have to take out the equipment. It was because of this that Water Spirit didn't want to write the contract. He was trying his luck. If he was lucky and Kikyaman's secret was real, then he would become the hero of the Tiangongman. If the Chichao sect's secret was fake, then he could just go into hiding and it wouldn't matter. The most important thing right now was the contract. As long as there was no contract, even if the Wu family and Shadowless found the Tiangongman, it would be useless. Thinking to hear, Water Spirit sighed. He felt that it was too hard for him. He deeply regretted that if he brought more people, then this wouldn't have happened. But since it had already happened, he could only try his best to solve it. As for returning empty-handed, Water Spirit didn't even think about it. Once Kikyaman's people were taken away, if their secret was real, then the Tiangongman would be finished. Seeing that Water Spirit didn't speak, Shadowless suddenly sneered and said, "Water Spirit, did I hit the nail on the head? Is that why you don't dare to answer?" Shadowless's words immediately woke Water Spirit up. He thought about it carefully and said, "Brother Shadowless, as long as you can think of a way to not be found out when we write the contract, then it's fine even if we write it for you." Water Spirit wanted to kick this problem to Shadowless, because in this state, as long as he took out a pen and paper to write the contract, the Wu family would definitely find out. Shadowless sneered, "Water Spirit, I only want you to write the contract now so that both of us can fulfill our promise. As for under what circumstances, that's your problem." Hearing this, Water Spirit cursed in his heart, but there was nothing he could do. He could only whisper, "Brother Shadowless, please be understanding and think of a good idea. I'll write the contract for Brother Shadowless alone." Shadowless shook his head. "I can't think of anything, you can think of it yourself." Water Spirit saw this and asked, "If that's the case, then let's wait until we take away Kikyaman's people and write the contract for Brother Shadowless. What do you think?" Shadowless shook his head. "Nothing, if you take away Kikyaman and don't give me the contract, then I can't do anything to you." Water Spirit quickly waved his hand. "That won't happen." At this point, Water Spirit paused for a bit before continuing, "Let's not talk about other people's equipment, but we Tiangongmen can still afford Brother Shadowless equipment." Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Shadowless looked at Wu Kadi and sneered, "What about the Wu family?" You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.